The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest, was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
We have
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program. The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
Good morning to our viewers online and welcome back to the Youth Leadership Debates. My name is Ijoma Kalu and I am your moderator for this round of the debates. If you're just joining us for the first time, the Youth Leadership Debates is a program by the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, an initiative of Leap Africa, MacArthur Foundation, and Ford Foundation. With these debates, we are urging Nigerian youth to pursue advocacy for the issues that surround them, the issues that affect them as Nigerians living in Nigeria, or even Nigerians living in the diaspora. Here we have debaters from tertiary institutions across the country who have been trained on debating ethics, who have been trained on policy review and research, who are going to be showing us things that they have researched about the motions that they will be debating about in this round. This is the elimination rounds 2, and in the elimination round 1, we saw students from universities like the University of Lagos, University of Abuja, University of Ilorin, Ladoke Akintola University, amongst others, debate. Now we have 16 teams who have made it out or to the elimination rounds 2, and they will be debating this morning. I'd like to say hello and welcome. I see that our debaters have joined the live call as well as our judges for this morning. Please, if you're just joining us on YouTube or on Facebook, I urge you to send this link to as many friends and family as you can, because we're having conversations that affect Nigerians wherever they may be. We are debating for the Nigeria that we want. We are advocating for the Nigeria that we want. And we're shaping the narrative for that Nigeria that we want through the debates that we are having here today. I remain your host, Ijoma Kalu, and I have with me today industry professionals who have joined us as panel of judges who will be giving their observations and their verdicts for the debates today. I have with me Mr. David Omata, Mr. Ayo Alao, and Mr. Chime Asonye. I'd like to say hello to you judges. Please, if you don't mind, just turn on your videos and say hello to all of us. You are now being added to the live stream, so you can just turn on your video and your audio and say hello. Just give us a wave. And we're glad to have you here. Hello, Chime. Glad to have you.
Good morning,
hello,
everyone.
Ayo.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hello, David. Are you able to turn on your video now? All right. Okay, hello, David. Um, we don't have David's audio, but David is joining us. This is David's third time with us through this debates 2.0. So thank you so much, David, for being a repeat judge. And thank you also to Ayo. Ayo has also been with us. And thank you, Chimi, for joining us for the first time. I'm sure you're going to enjoy your time here because the conversations you're going to listen to today are going to be mind blowing. So, viewers, we're going to go right into it today. Today, we are having, for the first round, debate between two teams from the Veritas University. Veritas University had two teams make it out of the elimination round one, and now these teams will be going head to head so that one team can make it out of this round into the quarterfinals. We have for Veritas Team 1, Abba, Divine, Enekole, and Priska Iwendi. And for Veritas University Group 2, we will have Grace Igele Uguru and Heart Joanne Eniga. Priska Iwendi, Abba Divine, Grace Igele, and Heart Joanne, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for all the work that you have put in and the very rich debates that you have brought to us prior to this time. For this round, we are debating the topic alternative financing for higher education is the solution to the governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. I'll take the motion again. Alternative financing for higher education is the solution to the governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. Veritas University Group 1, headed by Abba Divine Enekole, will be proposing this motion, while Group 2 will be opposing this motion. Debaters, I would just like to read out the rules of engagement once again for your use and for the use of the judges, especially the one who is joining us for the first time. The first speakers have 5 minutes to introduce their motion, define key terms, set burdens, and establish mechanisms, and offer their substantive arguments. The second speaker has 3 minutes to propose framework by the opposition, clash with the opposition, and offer their own substantive arguments to support their first speaker's arguments. After the first and second speakers have spoken, we'll give a cross-examination round of 30 seconds where debaters can come up and ask clarifying questions or offer rebuttals to the points that have been laid by their opponents. There are penalties for some errors that may be made, and I'm sure the debaters have gone on rounds before this one and they have stayed clear of these faults. However, I would still like to say that these penalties still remain in case you don't go by any of the rules that have been stated. Please remember, judges, that you have only the assigned amount of time for you to lay out your arguments: 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, and 1 minute to crystallize your points. If you go beyond that time, you are attracting a penalty of -1 point. You'll also attract penalties for inappropriate conduct, objectionable language, severe personal attack to other debaters, falsified evidence if proven fake by your opponent or by the judges. You'll also be penalized for unfair tactics and any irrelevant conversations. Judges, please take note of these penalties. I also urge the judges, you have been sent a live scoring sheet and you can go ahead to put in your comments and your points in the live scoring sheet as the debate progresses, because at the end of the debate for today, the 2 rounds that we have for today, we will be announcing the winners. I also like to put a sound warning to the debaters. Please respect your co-debaters. Please do not use any language that is inappropriate or is void of respect as you address your opponents in today's arguments. With all of that being said, and with all the rules set now, I now officially announce this first round of the debate open. And I would like to say that I'll call on the first team, the proposing team, Veritas University 1, to start off your arguments. I believe that the first speaker for Veritas University 1 is Abba Divine Enekwole. Abba Divine, you have the floor and you have 5 minutes. Divine, please go ahead.
So, resolved, alternative financing for higher education is the solution to the governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. Let's start with some clarity of terms in today's debate. Alternative financing simply means finding another option to funding the university system. And the reason we talk about alternative financing is because the current system has disappointed, or the current system has failed. Because the reason we talk about alternatives is when something current is no longer working and moving on with it is detrimental. The second clarity we need to run today's debate is have a proper picture of what governance is, right? And it simply has to do with the managing, administering, and running of a university. Panel, you would agree with me that whatever the vision, the character, strength, and weaknesses of any organization, financing is an indispensable factor in the actualization of that organization's dreams. Impartial panel of judges, you need to note that financing is key to the problematic nature of governance in higher education, because my assignment in today's debate is to prove to you why we should actually have conversation about alternatives. So before we even tell you what the alternatives are, you need to first be convinced that we truly need alternatives. So I'll prove to you the extent to which financing touches the problem of governance and how much alternative financing is truly tailored to solve the problem. Firstly, without financing, our bright Nigerian students have been deprived of learning with updated library books, laboratory, and infrastructure. At the heart of governance is the issue of the inability to actualize the objectives of university education. So whether the leaders are of good character or less, the fact remains that they are handicapped from fulfilling university education objectives without proper financing. The second analysis to this is that students are major stakeholders of higher education, but now they have to manage poor infrastructure and annoyingly long ASU strikes. This is highly problematic. The second stakeholder in university education are staff. Staff are major stakeholders, and when there is poor financing, they are not paid well. And they lose motivation and dignity for their profession. Financing panel is the wings for innovation to fly. So more students can be sponsored. We can have more global interaction if we have better financing. But even the best of leaders with the best character and minds would settle for less when there is no certainty of sufficient funds. Now, the reason I've spent so much time talking about government funds and all is not because we don't have private university, but according to NUC 2012 research, they tell us that federal universities form 55.70% of student enrollment because of the elitist nature of private universities. I will extend that further in my speech. But second point you need to notice that the current financing method is failing. So the extent to which it's failing is the reason we talk about alternatives. According to Premium Times, the strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, is the longest standing strike. Since 1999, there has been 16 ASU strikes. So you can imagine the rights and privileges that have become so impossible, whether these leaders are innovative or visionary minded or not. So panel, currently, note the word currently, we have very little supply of funds, so much that the United Nations has urged for us to increase budgetary allocation to education. Realize that we need to urgently find an alternative because government have failed. We have huge amounts of debt because we get a large amount of our money from borrowing and taxes. And Nigeria has a poor tax system, right? So we see these examples, such as what happened in Edo State. We see bad rules, but people pay taxes. Even if not everyone pays taxes, there is hardly any good management of these taxes. And so people don't even get the level of returns they need to get from paying taxes, right? Panel, we know that a major clash in today's debate is that opposition will talk about the fact that there are other factors of governance. We need to look at the fact that we need better leaders and management and all of the other factors opposition would bring. But the reason we stand so strong in today's debate is because when you see the needs of the major stakeholders who have few years in university to define their future in university education, when you see the need of the staff stakeholders who need to be paid properly, you realize that money may not be everything, but it influences a larger portion of changing the trajectory of university education from no salaries to better salaries, from no infrastructure to better infrastructure, from being able to afford technologies to close up the technological divide so that we can compete globally. I also agree that whatever the opposition says about moral and ethics is true, but innovation and morals are good anywhere. But we have a system where people are forced to struggle between survival and ethics. Why create that system when we can make things better? Alternative financing is at the heart of governance, and we need to find better ways to finance it. Thank you.
Veritas University for that educative argument so far. Once again, we are debating the motion, alternative financing for higher education is the solution to governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. We have heard the first speaker from the Veritas University Group 1, and I will now be calling on the opposition, Veritas University Group 2, for their first speaker's arguments. Grace Igele Oguro, you have the floor, and you have 5 minutes.
Management, according to Peter Docker, is doing things right. Panel, impartial panel of judges, I'm happy to be here today, and my team would prove to you that the problem of Nigerian university is not in its funding, but in what? Lack of management. Now, universities are the centers of excellence and research in all fields of human endeavor, right? According to Adewale in 2004 and Kolawole in 2011. In Nigeria, there are 37 federal universities in the countries, and that contributes to about 610,645 people. That's 55% of student enrollment, right? There are also 37 state universities, which contribute to 40.9% of student enrollment, while 50 private universities that contribute to which contribute to 3.4% of enrollment in Nigeria, according to NUC in 2012. Now, these enrollment to show you that people seem to attend the public university rather than the private university. And the common reason for this low enrollment in the private university, low ratio rather, is the tuition is far beyond the reach of the average Nigerian and ranges between 350,000 to 1 million per semester. Now, proposition argue that we need alternative financing to solve the problem of governance in Nigerian university. But what exactly are the finances that exist in status quo in present today? Now, Nigerian universities, public universities, have two major sources of income that use in funding of the Nigerian universities, right? According to Abdul Rahim in 2009, this is proprietor funding and non-proprietor funding. Proprietor funding consists of the budget given by the government, and non-proprietor funding consists of the internally generated revenue from profit-making ventures and tuitions that the state profit-making ventures and tuitions, right? These are the two main sources of funding for these universities. But these universities still encounter problem of what? Inadequate funding, inadequate academic staffing, inadequate facilities, insecurity, strike actions, and so on, showing that the alternative financing then that the proposition would be proposing would be to be getting money outside the budget that the government, outside the current existing status quo way that the people get money. But all the alternative financing that will be proposed will be making money outside the tuition, outside the budgeting, which is already existing. But still, this university complain of the lack of funding, right? Perhaps the most formidable task confronting university education in Nigeria is to articulate the relationship between the mission of the university, the specific needs of the university, that's political, social, economic, and cultural environment, and the adaptation of the university to the challenge of modernity. So many Nigerian universities have refused to embrace modernity, have remained consistent with the archaic way of doing things that have been existing from generation and generation to come. So with this system existing, no matter the money pumped into Nigerian universities, that's the public sectors, they would never achieve the adequate growth that is expected from them, right? Universities inadequacy, they do not have qualified and skilled academic staff because these staff do not get all the benefits that they need to get, and hence look for greener pasture, right? It is important to understand that the most critical challenge facing most universities will be to develop the capacity for what? For change. Nigerian universities to seek to remove constraints that prevent them from responding to the needs of rapidly changing society. This can only be achieved by introducing democratic university structures and management styles that promote inclusiveness and collectiveness deliberation in decision-making arrangements. Decision-making should be democratized and transparent. This would eliminate the factor of corruption. This would eliminate the factor of siphoning of funds meant for the development of the universities. This will eliminate the lack of development in Nigerian universities. On the whole, leadership becomes critical, right? Both in terms of will and ability to mobilize resources for the attainment of universities' objective. It is important, therefore, to adopt the leadership and management style that inspires confidence and growth of universities. Restructuring these universities, restructuring the interests of these universities, and changing everything will create a balance. This is essential. However, the essence, however, rather, is that leadership role is crucial in the overall development of universities. I'm showing you that the funding system that exists in Nigeria presently is beyond budgeting, that the budget that the government generates money, and they still cannot so whether alumni pay more fees, whether tuition is increased, it doesn't matter. If you cannot save, let me end with this quote: if you cannot manage 10,000, you cannot manage 100,000 naira. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Team Veritas University Group 2, for your arguments. I'll now open the floor once again to the proposition from Veritas University Group 1. Priska Iwendi, you have the floor now, and you have 3 minutes for your arguments. Priska, could you unmute your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
Apologies for the timer. You can go ahead. We are manually tracking the time till the timer comes up.
Okay, I should start now.
Yes, please.
In the ever-evolving landscape of higher education in Nigeria, the quality of learning and academic excellence stands as an unwavering goal. Yet, challenges persist, from limited resources to funding constraints. In this context, exploration of alternative financing emerges as a beacon of hope. My name is Iwende Priska, student of Veritas University Abuja, distinguished panel of adjudicators. I vehemently stand on the affirmative claim that alternative financing is a solution for higher education to the governance problems confronting university system in Nigeria. My partner has done a good job to highlight the challenges affecting the university system in Nigeria, which funding is a major factor, which is why governments go into borrowing and they become indebted, and ASU keeps embarking on strikes. Nigeria has a total debt of 69.43 trillion as calculated in 2022 and has over 518 years to pay back. And this was reported on the 21st of August through a credible source, Arise News. We understand the existence of financing sources. However, it has become inherently ineffective, which we seek for alternative sources, which is one, internal reallocation resources. Over the years, from 2010 to 2019, we've had a total budget of 8.42 trillion, an education budget of 620.5 million, with a total percentage of 7%. Now, this reallocation resources has to do with redistributing funds and assets within the university by prioritizing budgets and identifying key priorities by redistributing funds from the lesser sectors to the more crucial sectors as a way of addressing funding challenges. Another is income producing enterprises. This has to do with generating revenue by leveraging on the resources and facilities of the university. Through commercialization of research, universities capitalizes their research findings and partner with industries. So through the royalties and license fees they get, they can be able to contribute immensely to the quality of education. The important alternative is improvement of education budget, which should be emphasized. Improvement of education budgets has been paramount and important because it helps to improve universities to invest in faculty, facilities, and technology. Matthias Shemil, the UN coordinator, says that Nigeria should increase its 7% budget to 20% because 7% is not enough to enhance the quality of education in Nigeria. And it is not enough to eradicate the poor funding sector in the education sector in order to increase a sustainable development for the quality of education. And also gave the opportunity for us to opt into the grants given by UBEC to expand the education system of Nigeria. All these impact is to increase resource enrichment, retention and recruitment, and also global competitiveness. Panel of adjudicators, when we opt into all this alternative financing, it would help to reduce the funding challenges and increase higher quality of education in Nigeria. With this, I believe I've made a common sense. Thank you.
University for your argument so far. Judges, I believe that you are keeping track of the arguments that are being laid out, and I believe you also are starting to formulate the points for this round. I'm going to call on the second speaker from Veritas University Group 2, who would speak, and after that, I'll give both teams 30 seconds for their cross-examinations. At the cross-examinations, you'll be asking clarifying questions and offering any rebuttals to the points that have been laid out by the first and the second speakers. Group 2, Veritas University, you have the floor now, and you have 3 minutes. Joanne Hart, Eniga, you have the floor.
Can you hear me, please? Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay. On the opposing side, our stance is not to deny the fact that Nigeria needs reforms in the educational sector. But the most important question to ask ourselves in today's debate is the alternative financing a necessary method, and is it the best system for Nigeria? In 2018 alone, each public university in Nigeria was allocated 785.8 million naira, multiplied by the 74 universities, leaving the total allocation at 58 billion naira. The Nigerian system already has millions of naira being pumped into it annually, but the problem is the mismanagement of funds from the school administration. That is why even with other means of financing, the same thing will still happen. Money will be allocated, but the question is, will it be used appropriately? Finances have been coming into the Nigerian university system, and it will keep coming in. The proposition argues that we should change the source of the money, but does that guarantee that it will be used properly? We keep vying for policies that have little effect on the average Nigerian citizen. If we don't meet the root cause in the board, we'll keep going around in circles. If we don't address the pervasive issue of corruption in Nigeria, policies like this will only work to fasten the purses of the few people in power. Alternative financing might sound like a good idea on paper, but understand that it is not workable, at least not yet. Countries who have done this were able to do so based on their strong economic system and backups they had in place. Countries like the US, UK, Australia, with this system, have very high tuition fees and numbers of philanthropists donating constantly to their universities. We agree that Nigeria needs educational reforms, but we will be taking a big risk, putting our educational system in external hands when we do not yet have a stable economic system that can back this system up to work. Aside from that, we cannot ignore that the key stakeholders in today's debate are the Nigerian students. What will happen to them if they can no longer afford tuition? Proposition unfortunately did not tell us how this alternative financing system will be implemented, but we know that tuition fees will go up just like countries that previously implemented this system. The government currently subsidizes tuition fees in Nigeria and still people struggle to afford it. What would then happen when it becomes higher? Understand that in these countries that we are trying to imitate by implementing this alternative system, they have systems like student loans. But unfortunately, that is still not the best system because if you notice, students when they graduate from these schools abroad, they spend years of their lives after graduating trying to pay up their student loans. So bringing it back to Nigeria, how do we cover for this without cutting the throat of the average Nigerian parent with a minimum wage of 33,000 naira trying to put their child through university? The best method to approach the challenges we are having in Nigerian university system is to first confront the corruption that exists at the grassroots level in our university administration and then move on to holding our government accountable instead of folding our hands and waiting. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Veritas University, Team 2, for your second speaker's argument. We have now heard arguments from the first and second speakers from both parties. And I would now like to call on the first speaker from Veritas University Group 1, Divine and Nicole, for their cross-examinations. Please remember you have 30 seconds, Divine. Over to you. Hello, Divine. You're up now and you have the floor. Hello, Divine. Can you turn on your video? Are you experiencing any challenges? All right. Divine has just left. Okay, fine. Divine has just left the stream, but Uguru Grace Igele is here to, or rather, Priska Wendy, would you like to take the cross examinations on behalf of Divine? And if you do not have any questions for your opponents, it's fine. You can skip the round. Hello, can anybody hear me? Priska says she cannot hear me. Hello, Georges. Okay, Chime can hear me, and Ayo can hear me as well. So I believe that Priska and Abba Divine are having issues joining the stream or speaking on the stream. So I will skip them now and return later. So, Hart, Joanne, you have the floor now. You have 30 seconds for cross-examinations for your opponent. You have the floor. Thank you.
Okay. So, to the proposition, how do you address the corruption and mismanagement that exists in the university system already? Because it is no secret that lots of money goes into our educational system here in Nigeria, but it is siphoned as well. So, how can you guarantee that when we implement these alternative financing methods, the same thing will not happen over and over again? Because you already know that Nigerians, not well, people innately are corrupt, right? And then they are going to siphon these funds constantly. So how do you think we can mitigate this and make sure that the alternative financing system succeeds?
All right. Thank you so much, Team 2. I think we now have Team 1 on the call. Divine, you have the floor and you have 30 seconds for your cross-examination. And your time starts now.
Okay, so I appreciate the second team for the extent to which they give statistics, but the major question I have to ask them is that to what extent do these proprietor and non-proprietor funds, and how sufficient are they? Because if you tell us that, oh, there are already systems financing it, you don't tell us how sufficient they are to actually fund university systems, right? And then you talk about, she gives a wrong premise about how more financing would not work. So prove that more financing would not work and the extent.
All right. Thank you so much, Team One. Sincere apologies for taking you off the stream, even though I think you had gone past your 30 seconds. However, both teams, I hope you have noted the questions of your opponents, and I hope that you have answers to those questions as you round up in 1 minute. I will now call, just because of the match that had made because of the cross examinations, I will now call on Team Two to offer their first speaker's closing arguments. Team Two, you have the floor now, and that is I believe that's Grace. Grace Igele, you have the floor. 1 minute.
Like I ended my speech, right? Management comes with what you learn management not by the amount that you have presently, but by how good you are in managing whatever you have. Somebody can manage little amounts. How well you manage what you have determines how well you would manage if you get more to what you have, right? The problem with the preposition thing is that they don't realize that most of the alternative financing proposed by their second speaker already exists in status quo. If you look at my speech on proprietor and non-proprietor source of funding, university gets funding both from their independent ventures, like okay, they rent out spaces to people to sell on campus, they get alumni fee, they pay student due tuition and all of that, right? Those are the preposition, those were the alternative financing brought by preposition, and we show you that this already exists in status quo, but the university is not where we want it to be, meaning that there's something else happening, that the university is failing to achieve what it wants, resulting to what? Corruption and mismanagement. So no matter how much they have now, if they cannot manage what they already have, they won't be able to manage what they would get. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Team Two Veritas University, for your first speaker's closing arguments. I will now go on to Veritas University Team One for their closing arguments. Divine Enekole, you have the floor and you have 1 minute.
So panel,
Hello.
the second team
All
has
right.
started to talk about how some alternatives are already put in place, but realize that a larger portion of where these universities get their resources to take care of a bulk of university requirements are government funding, meaning that we have to create better systems on other things. We have to create better dependency on other things apart from government system. And so the opposition team began with statistics that I already gave, and then she talks about how there are larger things to governance, right? But the thing is that they are not sufficient enough. Government funding is not sufficient enough. And it's a good thing that she said that we are still complaining about financing, meaning that we need to have better financing. Realize that even if we have better management and better leaders and every other thing is solved, if there is no financing, stakeholders such as students and staff will still be deprived of quality education. So you realize that financing is absolutely influential beyond other things. Thank you.
Thank you, debaters, viewers, and judges. We've heard arguments from the proposition and opposition today. On the motion, alternative financing for higher education is the solution to governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. Again, I'll read the motion for our viewers who have just joined us. Alternative financing for higher education is the solution to the governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. And Veritas University Group 1 has proposed this motion, while Veritas University Group 2 has stood in opposition to this motion. I'll now give the judges the floor to give their feedback, their general feedback to the debaters. However, we will not be giving the final verdict till the end of the round today. So I would like to hear first from Mr. David Omata. Mr. David, what do you think about the debate that we've heard so far? Over to you, David. Thank you. Hello, David. Are you speaking? We can't hear you at all. I see your microphone is also unmuted. All right, we'll return to David in a minute. Mr. Ayo, you have the floor now. Do you have any feedback for the debaters? Hello, Ayo. Hello, Ayo, are you speaking? We can't hear you and we can't see you. Sincere apologies, viewers. I'm just going to call on our third judge while we fix if it's a technical glitch from our end. Mr. Chime, are you able to give feedback to the debaters?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This was an interesting debate. I have a lot of thoughts. I was a little bit, I guess there's a couple of things in debates like this where there's different evidence being used. I think that you need to qualify the evidence being used. So for instance, the first negative speaker talked about Peter Duca, and I'm wondering who's Peter Duca and why should I care about who Peter Duca is? And if it's important, outside of premium times and things like that, if you guys are using evidence, I would encourage you guys to. The second thing is that I think that speakers throughout the debates, you guys need to be carrying out arguments. So let's think about this debate here. You have arguments about how financing, like the first speaker has arguments about why financing is important. There's different things that are important in terms of infrastructure and global learning. Those arguments aren't carried out to the end. The first negative speaker has arguments about how the universities need to embrace modernity was a word. There's also arguments about how the universities need to democratize more. Those aren't carried out to the final debates. So at the end of debates, so that's a major issue. There's also terms that are used by the first speaker, the first affirmative speaker, about how what is governance and what is alternative funding. Those things aren't carried out to the end of the debate. So at the end of the debate, you really have an argument that is a question of what is alternative financing and what is it in the status quo? It would be good to have evidence on that question, right? That is carried out. So I can look to a piece of evidence and I can circle, okay, this is how much in terms of current financing exists. And then there's this other question that the negative contends with, which is it's not a question of financing, but it's a question of corruption and other things. And the question is, what is the risk? How do I weigh these type of questions? And I don't think any of the speeches at the end weighed these concerns for me, right? So how does weighing happen? It's questions like even if they win, there's some corruption or something like that. It doesn't matter because of this reason or this reason. You should weigh this thing. Or even if the other team wins, that is a status quo issue, or it's a right now financing is a question of like maybe there's more financing and things like that. We win because of this. So there wasn't that weighing that happened at the end of the debate, and so it's kind of hard to ultimately make a decision. But I thought there were some good questions here. I would say one last thing is I think the main crux of this debate, this question of governance, really needs to be articulated more, because what does governance mean? Like, there are some good conversations earlier in the speeches about how there's things like security. Security obviously impacts governance issues. I would think governance has to do with how certain student complaints are handled, like sexual assaults and things like that. Does money play a result in other governance matters, or is it just about infrastructure and stuff about tuition? So I think that there's a lot of a huge swaths of conversation that could have been had in the debate that wasn't really had. So, but overall, I think it was an interesting discussion and conversation, and I hope I'm wishing both teams well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback, debaters. I hope that you're taking the feedback. I'll now call on Mr. Ayo. Mr. Ayo Mdialao, you have the floor now for your feedback to the debaters.
Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Loud and clear. Yes, Mr. Ayo, I can hear you and I can see you.
Thank you, Juma. So interesting debate. If I would put it concisely, the debate is just about resource versus resource management. And so one team was arguing more for allocation of resources, while the other was saying we need proper management. We can do more with less. And I think beyond just the university system or education system in Nigeria, this is a problem that is at the heart of every challenge, so to say, in Nigeria. It's about resource management. So I find the debate very, very interesting and enlightening. A few things I'd just like to say to both teams who are for and against. What I discover is that you have a lot of points you want to make, and you did make some really good points. But I think one thing that I would advise is that when you want to go for debate, you should focus on the major points you want to expand upon, so to say. So you had so many points, it was very obvious, and you were trying to touch on all the points, within the time allocated to you. I know the time is not enough, to discuss all the points you have. So my advice would be focus on one or two, get enough information around it, and try to look for examples, comparative studies and analysis that you can use to back up your point. But I really, really do enjoy both points about the resource and resource management. And all I would say is well done. And I hope that you'll be able to not just debate this topic, but be able to imbibe the knowledge and the spirit behind the debate once you are given the opportunity to also become leaders, because I know all of you are potential leaders in your respective universities and by the time you leave school. So really interesting point. So the only thing I have to say is just focus on the few points you want to debate, develop it. Don't try to touch everything, just focus on one. Just like the against said, try to do more with less. So focus on a point or two and develop it very well. But I was enlightened by both parties. Thank you very much.
Interesting feedback, Mr. Ayo. Thank you so much. Debaters, you've heard it. This debate is not just about countering arguments that have been brought up. They are also about imbibing the knowledge that you have learned while researching the topics that have been assigned to you. And of course, we are making way for the leaders of today and tomorrow, which is why we are having this debate in the first place. Thank you so much to Mr. Ayo and Mr. Chime. I'll now call on Mr. David to give the final feedback for the judges, rather for the debaters. Mr. David Omata, you have the floor now. Thank you so much. Hello, Mr. David. Sincere apologies. We can see you, but we can't hear you speak. So I know that you have some feedback for the teams in your live judging sheet. So it's okay if you put your feedback there, and we'll be sure to share with the teams after the rounds today. Thank you so much, David. All right, thank you so much to our debaters. You have heard the feedback from the judges. So I will ask you now, Veritas Team 1 and Team 2, to leave the stream while we invite the debaters from the next round to join the streams. Some of them are already here. So Abba Divine and Priska Wendy, you can leave the stream now. Thank you so much. All right, we'll go for a short break, and when we return, we'll be hearing arguments in the round 2 from debaters from the University of Ibadan Group 1 and University of Ibadan Group 3. And they will be debating the motion, in enhancing economic growth, funding is more critical to entrepreneurial success than creativity. All right, we'll take a break now, and when we return, we shall hear this argument. Thank you so much.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
Hello and welcome back to the Youth Leadership Debates 2.0. We're in the elimination round 2. And I remain your host, Ijoma Kalu. I have with me our judges, Chime Asonye, Omata David, and Ayo Mide Alao. And we have debaters from two teams of debaters from the University of Ibadan who are going to be debating the motion. In enhancing economic growth, funding is more critical to entrepreneurial success than creativity. And we're going to go right into this argument. I think it's an interesting one. And we are very, very poised to hear what the teams of debaters have to say about this motion. We have representing University of Ibadan from Group 1, Iyenobong Daniel and Favor Adebayo. And we have from Group 3, Abdul Habib Korede and Yusuf Aisha. Debaters, remember that your first speakers have 5 minutes to present your arguments. The second speakers have 3 minutes to solidify and support the arguments of the first speaker. And after both first and second speakers are done, you have 30 seconds of cross-examination to ask clarifying questions and offer rebuttals to your opponent's points already laid out. You now have 1 minute after these cross-examinations to solidify your round by closing your arguments and also answering the questions that may have been put to you by your opponents. Please remember that you'll be penalized for inappropriate conduct, objectionable language, severe personal attack on other debaters, falsified evidence if proven false by your opponent and by the judges. You'll also be penalized for unfair tactics or unfamiliarity with the rules that have been set here now or that have been shared with you earlier by your hosts. Having put out the rules of engagement, I now say that this round is open. I would like to call on the first speaker, Iyenobong Daniel from the University of Ibadan, for your first speaker's arguments. You have 5 minutes, Iyenobong, and you have the floor now.
Studies from the United Nations Industrial Development Organization Investment and Technology Promotion Office in Nigeria shows that 20% of SMEs manage to survive in Nigeria. Also, data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that approximately 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years, 45% during the first 5 years, 65% during the first 10 years, and only about 25% of new businesses make it to 15 years. Which begs the question, what factors account for why some businesses fail and why some businesses succeed? My name is Zinebon Daniel from University of Ibadan Group 1, and I'm here to speak in favor of the motion which says that in enhancing economic growth, funding is more critical to entrepreneurial success than creativity. First, what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship can be defined as the overall process of developing, launching, and running a business. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in developing, in launching, and in running a business, is funding necessary or not? Not only is it necessary, it is a critical part of entrepreneurial success. Why? Firstly, funding helps in market penetration. Just thinking of creative ideas alone does not lead to entrepreneurial success, especially when some components and steps are not taken, such as market research, advertising campaigns, as well as establishing distribution resources, etc., which are crucial in gaining traction and generating sales. A well-funded entrepreneur has the advantage of effectively penetrating the market, establishing, reaching a broader audience, as well as establishing a strong presence. My opponents may come up to give examples of businesses that have rode on creativity prowess and experienced success, such as Apple, Google, etc. However, ladies and gentlemen, according to data acquired by Finboard, Apple spent about $100 billion on research and development in the past 5 years to stay on top in the innovation rate in the technology sector between 2018 and 2022. It also spent 97.7 billion just on research and development. According to Zipia.com, Google spends billions of dollars on advertising every year. For example, in 2020, it spent $2 billion in advertising, marketing, and promotion. Creativity alone cannot guarantee market success if the necessary funding for market penetration are lacking. Secondly, funding helps in scalability and sustainability. Funding is crucial for scaling business and also for ensuring long-term sustainability. It enables entrepreneurs to invest in capital expansion, to hire additional staff, to enhance the production process, as well as adapt to changing market dynamics. According to Business Day, in the first quarter of 2023, Nigeria's largest conglomerate group, Dangote, spent $57.7 billion in fuel and power, 48.2 billion naira, on raw materials, amongst others. And Dangote Cement also spent 11.9 billion on salaries and related staff costs. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, while creativity plays a crucial role in identifying opportunities and business models, without adequate funding, entrepreneurs may struggle to turn these ideas into scalable and sustainable ventures. Ladies and gentlemen, while creativity is without doubt fuels innovation and differentiation, funding is often the catalyst that transforms ideas into tangible economic growth. Without adequate financial support, even the most brilliant and innovative concepts may struggle to gain momentum and achieve their full potential. Thus, ladies and gentlemen, creativity is essential. However, the critical role of funding in ensuring entrepreneurial success cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Team 1 of the University of Ibadan for your arguments. I'll now call on the first speaker from the University of Ibadan Group 3 for their first speaker's argument. Abdul Habib Akorede, you have the floor now and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, can I? Judges,
Yeah.
please do not believe what your devices are telling you. I am in. What's going on? I'm sorry, please. Okay, judges, please do not believe what your devices are telling you. I am Elon Musk Jr., and I have come to solve a few problems in today's debates. But first, since you're meeting me for the first time, let me introduce my arguments. We are not saying that funding is not critical. What we are saying is that creativity is more critical. Secondly, how do we measure entrepreneurial success? Judges, since not all businesses can become unicorns or compete with the highest value in the market for that matter, our idea of entrepreneurial success is simply the ability of businesses to deliver on their intended mandates. So, for instance, a health startup that carries blood from different donors to hospitals and does it in the most efficient way possible will be considered successful by this definition. That startup serves the needs of its target audience in a visible and impactful way. Having established this, why is creativity more critical? We say it is critical for two reasons: internal and external. Panel, externally, the entire idea of entrepreneurship is to make profit by building a product for a marketplace. And to reduce the risk of financial loss, companies have to develop services that solve the most pressing problems of their customers. Take the idea of mobile money, for example. Just by having the phone number of the person they intend to send money to, millions of people in rural areas across Africa no longer have to worry about visiting banks that are very far from their communities. Mr. Speaker, developing this strategy is a product of creativity. Therefore, creativity helps businesses to design actionable plans which produce solid results for them and their customers. Internally, judges, businesses cannot succeed if they do not have a workforce or structural mechanisms that can help them with their implementation. According to the PwC Global Culture Survey 2021, 72% of companies reported that culture helped create successful change initiatives. Even more, data published by Forbes revealed that companies that prioritize performance-enhancing culture record revenue growth that is 4 times the amount for those who don't. Mr. Speaker, you cannot make employees happy and committed simply by paying them more money, but you can make more money for your company by designing creative internal processes that ensure that they put their best in helping your company grow. Things as simple as allowing hybrid work, having social events, reducing the number of work days, and recognizing cultural and religious diversity can greatly improve the efficiency and loyalty of employees. This panel can be the difference between development and stagnation. Moving on, another advantage that creativity has over funding is the fact that financial resources have no personality, no emotions that we can attach to. Creativity, on the other hand, reflects the emotional intelligence of the person initiating new ideas. What this means is that for you to utilize funding in some of the most critical areas, like marketing or product development, you need the emotional impact of a creative to deploy it the right way. And this is how it works. If businesses are mainly conducted between companies and their end users, it only makes sense that consumers see the reason to spend money on specific products. Creativity is the ultimate way to make this happen. Mr. Speaker, signs of creativity are present in every corner of our society today, from finance to the systems of governance, down to law enforcement. Enormous amounts of creative thinking have been invested in solving various challenges. The opposition's idea that funding is the most critical way to achieve success ignores the fact that the results in these sectors are products of thoughts, not finance. Again, my opponents are making another mistake, and all we need to do to spot it is understand how fundraising works for businesses. If investors are not convinced by the validity of your plan, they will not put their money into it. If the idea is not revolutionary, it will never be able to raise funding. Panel, you probably did not believe it when I said I'm Elon Musk Jr. Notwithstanding, I believe that my side has been able to solve the problems concerning the significance of creativity in today's debate by showing you that, one, in an external sense, it helps businesses to become profitable. Two, it helps them to derive the best from their employees. Three, it appeals to the emotional needs of their customers. And four, it actually helps them to raise investment. For these reasons, I am proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Team Opposition, for your arguments so far. I'll now like to call on the second speaker from the proposition for her arguments. Favour Adebayo, you have the floor, and you have 3 minutes.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, panel of judges, and my co-debater. I'm Favor Adebayo from the University of Ibadan, and I'm here to support the motion which says, in enhancing economic growth, funding is more critical to entrepreneurial success than creativity. According to Business Day, 80% of businesses in metrics out of the existing factors that served as obstacles to entrepreneurs. Lack access to finance was the highest. It had the highest percentage of 30%. And an example of a business and in 2017, the business had already folded up. As the CEO, Damilola commented that the investors no longer had funds to sponsor the business. Also, take a look at Jumia, that app where you order your sneakers, your shoes, and even food. According to the Punch newspaper, in the year 2016, Jumia got about 64 billion naira from to be able to e-commerce platform to different African countries, giving it a more and wider scalability. According to This Day, small and medium enterprise contribute 48% of national GDP and also 96% of businesses in Africa. And this is why certain individuals, of which Tony Elumelu is an example, have decided to support these people. The Elumelu Foundation grants about 5,000 seed grants to entrepreneurs who are in business, and it gives this to small scale startup and also to small businesses. You should think of it. What would make an individual commit $100 million to a program over 10 years to identify, train, and mentor entrepreneurs to generate 1 million jobs over the space of 10 years and to contribute at least 10 billion new annual revenues in Africa? It is because it recognizes that for us to record economic growth, we have to support the entrepreneurial spirit, and we can only do this by funding. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Favor Adebayo. We see your struggle with the internet, and we're very glad that you're able to still give your arguments irrespective of that technical challenge. I'll now call on the second speaker from the opposition, Yusuf Aisha, for your arguments. Yusuf, you have the floor and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning. We can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Judges, our first speaker has solved the problem concerning the significance of creativity in today's debate. So I have only one thing to do today. Give you more points on why our claim that creativity is more important than funding entrepreneurial success is the real deal. Firstly, innovativeness is a core part of creativity and the driving force behind every successful business. It is what makes people come up with new ideas and stay competitive in their industries. A business may start off fine and run for a while smoothly due to adequate funding and other factors. However, there comes a time when this business starts facing challenges and has to adapt to new market trends. The entrepreneur must be innovative enough to scale these hurdles, and that is creativity at play. Michael Boyce agreed with this, which is why he wrote in an article on Harvard Business School Online titled The Importance of Creativity in Business, that creativity enables adaptability. That is, the ability of entrepreneurs to deal with changes in the business world and make the most of disruptive circumstances. He concluded by agreeing with our stance in today's debate that funding is not more critical to entrepreneur success than creativity, because creativity is a bedrock of entrepreneurship. The proposition have claimed that funding gives entrepreneurs opportunities to explore different options that can lead to success, giving examples like Tony Elumelu. The flaw in that argument is that creativity is the prerequisite for funding. Tony Elumelu Foundation would not give funding to a business idea that they do not believe can bring return on their investment. This is the same for every other investor, as they would not fund any idea that they do not believe is creative enough to bring a return on their investment. Moving on, Georges. Another point to support of our stance in today's debate is that creativity enables resource optimization. You see, it's not enough for a business to get access to various resources through funding. They need to be creative to use these resources optimally. This is how they can gain competitive advantage in their industry. This assertion is supported by Eaton Business Queen, an article published on their website titled, "Here is why creativity is so crucial for entrepreneurship," where they emphasize that an entrepreneur must utilize employees' potentials to reap full reward of profitability. This is also what Carl Carosa wrote on Forbes when he stated that the importance of creative behavior is not just in the ability to come up with an original idea that wins today. It is the ability to take a unique idea, whether it originated from you or someone else, and fashion a profitable ongoing enterprise. You see this play out in real life when you realize that Elon Musk did not found Tesla. Rather, he bought the company because it was creative enough to spot the potential that the company has to bring long-term success that can contribute to economic growth in the long run. Finally, Georges, why should we win today's debate? Because we have shown you that through our two speeches that the idea that funding is what critical to entrepreneurial success and creativity is flawed, because it undermines the core of entrepreneurship, creativity. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much to our debaters from both from the University of Ibadan. We have now heard arguments from the first and the second speakers from both parties. It's now time for cross-examinations. I'd like to call on the first speaker from University of Ibadan Group 3, Abdul Habib Akorede, for cross-examinations to the proposition. Akorede, you have the floor now, and you have 30 seconds.
Okay, so we have just two questions to ask our opponents in today's debate. First off, did the companies that raised all this money, the billions that they mentioned so excitedly, did they do so by having creative ideas or not? Second question, do you win the attention of your customers by throwing money at them or by developing creative solutions for winning them over so that they can patronize you? If they can answer these questions, they will be sincerely grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Group 3. I'll now give the floor back to the proposition. Ian Obong Daniel, do you have any questions for your opponents? You have the floor now. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you for your questions. I would ask just one question. When you have a creative idea and you make creative product and you don't have enough funding, how do you take this product from where you are to the audience? How are you able to make sure that your creative ideas and services reach the final consumer, reach those people that really need it without adequate funding? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the questions. I hope that they have been noted accordingly. I will now allow for Ian Obong to give the closing statements on behalf of our team, the proposition. Ian Obong Daniel, you have the floor once again.
Thank you. January 24, 1984, former Apple CEO Steve Jobs introduced the first Macintosh. It was the first commercially successful personal computer to feature two known but still unpopular features, the mouse and the graphical user interface. Beautiful creativity and innovation that forever changed the world of computers as we know it. However, ladies and gentlemen, Apple spent $1 million on a 60-second spot advert that premiered at the Super Bowl. Also, Apple spent $2.5 million, according to Newsweek, Apple spent $2.5 million to purchase all advertising pages in Newsweek newspaper in 1984. According to New York Times, by April 1984, the company sold 50,000 Macintoshes. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine I come up with an idea for a computer that I can punch in the air without all the funding I need. I cannot run ads and I cannot buy any advertising pages in the newspaper. Ladies and gentlemen, how would I be able to do this? How would I be able to achieve the full potential of my creative idea? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Interesting close by the proposition. And I'll give the floor to the opposition for their closing arguments. Akorede, you have the floor now, and you have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So they keep mentioning the fact that Apple has this money, Apple has that, Apple has that money. Mr. Speaker, the one thing we need to note here is that Apple would not spend all those monies in the first place if they did not realize that the marketing campaign they were about to launch were actually creative and was going to help them make more money in the long run. Mr. Speaker, that establishes the supremacy of creativity over funding. Now, moving on to a roundup of our points. Panel, we already discussed, we showed to you that first of creativity in an external sense helps businesses to become more profitable. For instance, in the case of Apple. Second, it helps them to derive the best from their employees because they become more loyal to the company. And third, it appeals to the emotional needs of their consumers, which helps them in product development and marketing campaigns. Fourth, it also helps them to raise new investment, which in this case is of course, pitching a new business to investors and they put money into it because they believe in it. Then we also raise additional reasons stating that innovativeness is a core part of creativity and the driving force behind every surviving business. Second, we said that it helps to optimize the resources better. For these reasons, we are proud to propose. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the opposition. We have now heard arguments from both parties, from the first, second speakers from both parties, and we've also heard the closing. I think this has been a very interesting round. The conversation has been very tough, and I'm sure the judges are having a hard time on who to give what points to. However, I would like to hear what the judges have to say about everything that has been said and how it has been said by the debaters. I'd like to call first on Mr. David Omata. David, you have the floor now, and you have 1 minute to give your feedback to the debaters. Over to you, David.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Hello?
Hello, David. We can hear you very well.
Okay. So first off, I would like to congratulate the debaters for making it to this round of the debate. The two sides have done very well, and I would say well done to the both of you. Just to give some specific feedbacks to the debaters, the first speaker from the opposing or the proposing side rather, talking about funding that as a means of the promotion to entrepreneurship. I like your debate. I like the fact that you were able to give some data and statistics to back up your points. And the second speaker, you also did very well. However, your sources, you were quoting more from national dailies. So, for example, when you talked about the 48% of the national GDP coming from the MSMEs, you can actually get that data from the National Bureau of Statistics or from places like SMIDAN. But you quoted or you gave all your references or your sources more from newspapers. I think it's more accurate and sometimes more convincing to try to give our references from real sources or like some of the organizations that are directly into this. On the second side, the team two, I really like your argument. But I would say, especially the second speaker, I like the fact that you were able to use Tonelu Melu to also counter your argument, even while you were still making your points. The both sides did well, and I would say well done to the both of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. David. Thank you for your feedback. Debaters, I hope that you're taking that feedback. I'll now open the floor to Mr. Ayomide Alao. Ayo, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Joma. So well done to the team from University of Ibadan. It's a really interesting and enlightening topic, entrepreneurship and debating in between what is needed most, resources or the idea or the spirit of entrepreneurship, like they say. So what I would just like to mention, in collaboration with what the first judge just mentioned, yes, it's always very important that you look at the source of your referencing. The source is very important. So try and pay attention to sources that are pro the topic you are debating, much more than just generalizing your source. I think they call it lazy sourcing. I've forgotten the right terminology. So try to look for sources that are relatable to the topic you are discussing. Then the other thing I also want to make mention of is the fact that when you are trying to build up a particular idea, especially with something that has to do with entrepreneurship, it's very, very important to use relatable examples, something that people can easily relate with. I know we're in a global village, like they say, but I think Nigeria has also come of age whereby you can pick up examples that we can easily relate to. I know a particular speaker made mention of few examples, from Nigeria, but I think other speakers are focusing much more on the global south. I mean, sorry, the global north rather. So you can look at examples from the global south also, things that we can relate to, considering the peculiarity of our business environment in Nigeria and Africa. So apart from those points, I think it's a really good debate, and kudos to the team.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lau. Now over to Mr. Chime Asonye. Chime, you have the floor now. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay, so this is one point from Mr. Abdul. I like your speeches. I know that you probably participate in a lot of different debate activities, so it's just unique to this one. This is Carl proper, as I understand it, and so we're judges. There's no Mr. Speaker. So it was just something I noticed. You kept on saying Mr. Speaker, but in this case, the appropriate reference would be judges, and it's just to be cognizant of the different debate styles. Not a big deal, it's just something to notice. Now, generally, I like this debate. I felt like there was a bit more clash in this debate, and I would like to highlight really two things. To me, this is a debate about evidence. This is a debate about evidence, and it's just a question of who has the better evidence and how is it deployed. So there's two specific pieces of references that I want to highlight. The first one is from the second affirmative speaker. And unfortunately, the second affirmative speaker, you had issues with your internet. I understand it's a challenge. I was almost tempted to have you start again or even ask questions in the cross-ex because there were some things I didn't get. But there was one thing you said at the top, which is 80% of businesses, something like that, lack finance. Now, I couldn't get the entire reference, but the reason I didn't think of it as important is because it wasn't mentioned in the last speech. So to me, if it's very important, to me, I didn't really get the reference, but as I understood it, it was something like 80% of businesses fail if they don't have proper finances. But because I couldn't get it fully, I was thinking that it would be in the final speech. Because it wasn't in the final speech, I thought it wasn't as important as maybe I thought it was. But let's pretend that the argument is true. That's huge information, 80%, and it's huge information, and it's something that you can, as a judge, I can quantify how important that issue is. So if you have startups, if you have CEOs, you have entrepreneurs, and they say the biggest issue they face is a funding issue, then it's like whatever they talk about, all this gimmicks around innovation, creativity, and culture, et cetera, it doesn't matter. What the innovators say is we need money. So that's why I think the reference is very important. The second critical piece of information that I thought was from the negative, which is this argument about culture and about the multiplier effect of creativity. There's one piece of reference that you say is that because of creative culture and things like that, there's a 4x return on investment if there's a more creative culture and things like that. That wasn't extended in the final pitch, but I thought it was huge. I was like, oh well, if funding would get you 1x and then creative approaches would get you 4x of that 1x, then that's another thing I should be considerate. So I say that to say that I think the final negative speaker, you did well in terms of trying to continue to draw what the key arguments were. But I think that for some of these things, you should reference specific, it doesn't like you did. You basically tag for some things you warranted, but one of the warrants I think should have been that 4x. And I think that on debates like this, where it's about economic growth, the question is how much money in the future do you have? And you should really warrant it with a number that I can get as a judge. The final thing I'll say is there's the debate about Tony Illuminalu. Oh, two more comments. There's a debate about Tony Illuminalu. The second affirmative said Tony Lumulu gives money to funding. The next speaker said no, the funding happens because it's creative and that's how they get funded. And then there's no discussion of Tony Lumulu in the final speech. I just thought a specific, like the negative speaker, I just thought a quick reference to say that, hey, they dropped this argument about Tony Lumulu. That's a key to funding, etc. If you just mentioned it, I thought along with your arguments, I thought it would have helped your thing because it was an argument dropped. And I think it kind of buttressed your point, and I think would have helped crystallize it at the end. And then the final affirmative speaker, I think you need to choose. I think there was way too much time spent on this whole Microsoft, Apple, and ads. The final argument that's made by the affirmative is this. Essentially is this. There's a lot of money spending on ads, and because of funding, you can't have ads. That's essentially what your argument boils down to at the last speech. But your first affirmative speech, there's two arguments isolated, that funding is key to market penetration and funding is key to sustainability. But at the very end, the last thing you talk about is because of this whole talk about Microsoft and Apple and this example is just funding is key to ads. And I don't think that's the last words you want to leave the judge with. So I think it's important for you to, spend time on what are the key arguments of clash and impacting why that's more important than, creativity and the other things that I mentioned. I hope that makes sense.
Interesting feedback. Thank you so much, Chime. Thank you to all the judges. Your feedback is well taken, even for us to hit this points to the head, because everyone needs to come out at their best and to come correct. So debaters, I hope you've taken the feedback from the judges. Thank you so much for the work that you've put in for this round. We're going to take a short break, and I'm also urging the judges to impute the points for this round on the live sheets. Debaters, you can leave the floor now. You can leave the stream now as we wait for the next round of debaters to join the call. Thank you so much, judges.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program. The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
It's the Youth Day of Service, and it's really in commemoration of the International Youth Day.
The Youth Day of Service is leadership in action. We're all about inspiring, equipping, and empowering a new cadre of African leaders that will transform themselves personally, the community, and the entire Africa.
This is important because we're trying to also just promote and encourage volunteering. Everyone has come out today. Some of our partners have come out today to volunteer and support.
Our partnership with the Leap Africa on the Youth Day of Service is key to creating social impact in the lives of communities, in the lives of youth members, in the lives of everyone around us.
Young people are vibrant, young people are creative, young people are innovative. And so you can't even begin to imagine the kinds of projects that we have seen so far.
There's a huge innovation gap on the continent. You have young people who are talented and largely driven by passion, who go into starting enterprises without the requisite skills, knowledge, resources, relationships to be able to take them sustainably.
We couldn't sustain the programs we did. We lacked financial capacity.
It was just at the point where I was almost going to stop the idea.
The SIP, Social Innovators Program, was designed so that we can bridge that gap. We can fill that gap of capacity.
Indirectly, when they invested in me as a young person, they've invested in the over 11,000 plus women that we've been able to empower.
We're able to provide relief materials to over 3,000 inmates.
For just the last 3 years, after being a LEAP fellow, we are able to achieve that goal to the highest level I can think about.
Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to Elimination Rounds 2 of the Youth Leadership Debates competition. It's been a very tough competition so far. And we've heard arguments from the Veritas University and the University of Ibadan. We're now on round 3 of today's debates, and we have debaters from the Lagos State University and Obafemi Awolowo University Group 2. I want to say to the judges who have been with us since morning, thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for the input that you're making to making this debate competition a success. Thank you, Mr. Chimia Sonye, Mr. Ayomide Alao, and Mr. David Omata. And thank you so much to the debaters who have gone before now. And I want to say once again, welcome to Team Lagos State University and Obafemi Awolowo University. We have Naomi Kadiri and Adebola Al-Amin from Lagos State University. And we have Adebanjo Demilade and Adeyemi Taiwo from the Obafemi Awolowo University. For this round, we are debating the topic: is Nigeria's economic growth and potential significant? Pardon me, I'll take that again. Is Nigeria's economic growth and potential significant enough to drive the overall rise of Africa as a continent? So practically, the debaters are going to debate the motion that Nigeria's economic growth and potential are significant enough to drive the overall rise of Africa as a continent. We have the team from Lagos State University proposing this argument, while Obafemi Awolowo University will be opposing this argument. Debaters, please recall that you have 5 minutes for your first speaker's arguments and 3 minutes for your second speaker's arguments. When the first and second speakers from both sides have spoken, we have 30 seconds for cross-examinations where you get to ask questions and to offer rebuttals to the arguments that have been brought up by your opponents. After this, you'll be given 1 minute to crystallize your round by repeating your key submissions for this round. And then our judges will be giving their feedback and they will also be putting in your live scores on the sheet that has been provided to them. However, the final verdict will be given at the end of today's round. We're on the third round right now. When we make it to the round 4, then we'll be given the verdict for all the rounds that have gone on today. This round is now active and open, and I would like to call on the first speaker from the Lagos State University, Ms. Naomi Kadiri, for your arguments. Naomi, you have the floor and you have 5 minutes.
Wait, sorry. How can I? Sorry. We are trying to turn the camera to the back, so we're trying to figure that out, please.
All right, but we can see you. So is it possible for Naomi to sit on the end where you are sitting if you're having issues with your camera?
Okay. Okay, hold on, please. Can you see her this way?
Yes, we can.
Hello, can you see her this way?
Yes, please. We can see her. Yes, Naomi, we can see you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you. We'll start the timer for you, and your time starts now.
Thank you very much. According to Investopedia, economic growth is an increase in the production of goods and services in an economy. According to Oxford Advanced English Dictionary, potential means the inherent capacity for coming into being. Is Nigeria's economic growth and potential significant enough to drive overall rise of Africa as a continent? We are from the Lagos State University, and I am Naomi Kadri, proposing to this argument. We will be driving us through 5 points. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join the bus of facts and logic so we can get you to the destination of certainty and wisdom. Judges, dear passengers, before getting to our final destination, we'll be passing through 5 cogent checkpoints with the acronym A, B, C, D, E. The A, which stands for agriculture, the B for beneficial infrastructure, the C for capable population, the D for durable oil and gas sector, and the E for efficient financial sector. Now to the first checkpoint, agriculture. Nigeria is blessed with fertile land, diverse climate, and ample water resources, making it well suited for agricultural production. According to the International Cocoa Organization, Nigeria is the 4th largest producer of cocoa in the world, with an annual production of around 240,000 metric tons. According to Food and Agriculture Organization, Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world, accounting for about 20% of global production. In 2020, Nigeria produced over 54 million metric tons of cassava. According to International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, Nigeria is the largest producer of yam in the world, with an annual production of around 44 million metric tons. Yam is an ample food in Nigeria, and the country's production accounts for about 70% of global input. Is all this achievement for Gary? Is it for Eba? Is it for beans? Is it for Dodo? No. Ladies and gentlemen, this clearly shows that Nigeria has the opportunity to increase its agricultural exports to other African countries, contributing to regional trade and economic integration. In fact, by investing in agricultural development, Nigeria can enhance food security within its borders and contribute to addressing hunger challenges across Africa. At this checkpoint, Nigeria's agricultural sector can be likened to a flourishing garden where the seeds of innovation, investment, and sustainable practices are nurtured. And as the garden grows, it not only provides nourishment for Nigeria, but also blossoms into a source of abundance for the entire continent. Moving on to the second checkpoint, beneficial infrastructure. The country has made significant progress in various sectors. For instance, the construction of the Lekki Deep Sea Port in Lagos will enhance trade and attract foreign investment. Additionally, the ongoing expansion of railway networks such as the Lagos-Ibadan and the Abuja-Kaduna lines improve transportation connectivity. According to McKinsey Global Institute, these accomplishments demonstrate Nigeria's commitment to infrastructural growth and can inspire other African nations to prioritize similar development initiatives. When you think of Barcelona in the year 2019, you think of Messi as the player. Exactly. At this checkpoint, beneficial infrastructure proves that Nigeria can be a key player to Africa's economic growth. Now to my final checkpoint, capable population. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa with an estimated population of over 211 million people as of 2021. With such a large population, Nigeria offers a vast consumer market and potential for economic growth. These create opportunities for businesses to thrive and expand their operations within and outside the country. In fact, according to World Bank in 2021, Nigeria already accounted for approximately 15% of Africa's GDP. I repeat, Nigeria already accounted for approximately 15% of Africa's GDP, gross domestic product, while South Africa roughly accounting for 12%. This means that Nigeria's market potential has a positive ripple effect on regional economic growth. As businesses flourish and investments increase, neighboring countries can benefit from trade partnership and increase economic activity. When you think of Man City, you think of Erling Haaland as the key player at this checkpoint. Nigeria's population is a powerhouse and key player of economic potential. It is like having a VIP section in the market of regional and continental growth. Dear passengers, we have gotten to a highway. So please fasten your seatbelts as I will be handing over this bus of logic and facts to my second speaker to continue this journey to the destination of sanctity and wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, first speaker from the proposition. I'm going to now call on the first speaker from the opposition, Adebanjo Demilade from Obafemi Awolowo University. Demilade, you have the floor now and you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Sir, am I audible? And am I visible?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right, please restart my time and just tell me when to begin. Hello?
Demilade, you are supposed to start speaking once the timer is up, so you have the floor.
I can't see the timer on my screen for some reason, so that's why I have to hear an audible kind of thing, so to say. I'm really sorry about that.
All right, the timer is up now, so you can go ahead.
All right.
Can you speak now?
You can only save yourself after you've saved, or you can only save other people after you've saved yourself, literally. Now, in this case, you may ask me, who is the proposed savior and who is the person to be saved? Right. The proposed savior in this case is Nigeria, our beloved Nigeria. And the one to be saved is Africa. Now, our opposition rightfully says that Nigeria has the opportunity to blossom. But what they fail to acknowledge is that Nigeria has not cashed in on this opportunity to blossom as a thriving economy. Good day, everyone. I am Adebanjo Demilade from Obafemi Awolowo University, and I will be opposing this particular motion. Before I dive into my points, what is the current Nigerian economic state? As described by the World Bank, in the first part of 2023, Nigeria's economic growth weakened, and the real gross domestic product GDP fell from 3.3% in 2022 to 2.4% in the first quarter of 2023. This challenging global economic context has put pressure on the Nigerian economy. Nigeria's ranking has even worsened in the global economic rankings, such as the Human Development Index. Can you imagine Nigeria's ranking on the Human Development Index is 163 out of 191 countries, as stated by the United Nations Development Programme, the HDI. Now, having explained what the current economic situation looks like, we dive into our points opposing this particular motion. First, poverty and high unemployment rates. Our opponents rightfully mentioned that yes, Nigeria has a very high population of people in the country, leading to literally high human capital to facilitate a very good market to receive products and all of those things. But we have to understand that there is also high unemployment rates in the midst of these particular people that occupy this particular mission, as of even additional to that, we also have high underemployment rates. The World Bank literally said that Nigeria's economic growth is too slow to address the challenge of extreme poverty in the country, which is also part of the things that we are battling with. Imagine, the global audit and tax advisory firm KPMG has projected that Nigeria's unemployment rate is expected to rise to about 40.6% compared to 2022's 37.7%. Imagine if we are going at this rate and we are saying that we want to drive the overall rise of a continent, even when as a country we have not gotten it right. It's very easy to throw figures around, right? But let me relate a story to you. One of the people that we have around us literally eats just once a day because they cannot afford to buy food. They cannot afford to buy a lot of things, coupled with inflation. These people are literally one of those that are considered multidimensionally poor. And yet we keep saying that we can drive the overall rise of a continent when we have not gotten it right as an economy, even within our own space. Second point, corruption in the Nigerian sphere. The Transparency International's 2022 Corruption Perception Index stated that Nigeria had 24% or 24 on a scale of 0 to 100. And on that particular scale, 100 means that you are not corrupt, 0 means you are very corrupt. Nigeria scored a very poor score. Even with this score, Nigeria was ranked 150 out of 180 countries on this index, which means Nigeria is tending towards the side of being very, very corrupt. Now, at the point where we have corruption seeping through literally every part of this particular country, it even enters the economy because we have things like mismanagement of funds. We have things like policies that are not implemented towards the climate of this particular country. All these problems literally impede on Nigeria's growth. And if we bring Africa into the picture, it's going to affect other countries as well. Now, I am not just coming here to oppose, but also to propose a solution. What we would propose on our own side is not just literally debunking whatever proposition says, but we propose meaningful collaboration because Nigeria's economic growth alone cannot drive Africa. We have not gotten it right. What we need is meaningful collaboration between other countries in the African space to spur economic growth for each individual and each country, making life better for all Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, first speaker from Obafemi Awolowo University. I'll now call on the second speaker from the Lagos State University proposing this motion. Adebola Alamein, you have the floor and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Confirm. Can you hear me clearly, please? Hi.
We can hear you and we can see you, Adebola. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The judges, please tighten your seatbelt as you drive to D and E. D, which stands for durable oil and gas sector, and E, which stands for efficient financial sector. Now to the fourth checkpoint. Nigeria has a significant oil and gas reserve, estimated at 37 barrels of oil and 192 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, according to Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Let us do a little calculation. According to the United States Energy Information Administration, Angola has an estimated 9.5 billion barrels of proven oil reserve. Egypt has an estimated 4.4 billion barrels of proven oil reserve. Ghana has an estimated 660 million barrels of oil reserve. This means that if you add all these three oil reserves of these three countries together, they are not even up to the one Nigeria has. The largest economy in Africa for a reason. The oil and gas exports account for a substantial portion of Nigeria's GDP. The revenue generated from oil and gas can be invested in infrastructure projects, which are roads, ports, and power plants. This development can enhance connectivity and facilitate trade within Africa. Nigeria oil and gas industry can foster regional cooperation in Africa by collaboration of exploration, production, and refining for the benefit of the entire country. At this checkpoint, Nigeria oil and gas can be like allies that can take Africa to the wonderland. Now to the final checkpoint, efficient financial sector. Nigeria financial sector has seen significant growth with the establishment of new bank, financial startup, an example is Paystack, and also expansion of mobile bank services. These developments have increased access to financial services for individuals and businesses, driving economic activity. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the banking sector assets grew by 22% in 2022, reaching 56.4 trillion naira. Additionally, the adoption of digital payments, the adoption of digital payment solution as such, with over 50 million Nigerians using mobile money services at this checkpoint by attracting investment, expanding financial services, and embracing digital innovation. Nigerian financial sector is poised to play a vital role in stimulating economic activity and driving sustainable growth in the region. In fact, according to Premium Times on the 3rd of August 2022, Nigeria government donated 1.4 billion worth of vehicles to Nigeria Republic. We understand that Nigeria may not be the eldest, but it is not too early to start playing the big brother role. The judges, it can take one wealthy person to sustain the well-being of the family, because having a wealthy individual in the family can potentially leave them out of poverty. The financial resources and opportunities that come with wealth can provide better access to education, healthcare, and business opportunity, which can possibly impact the entire family well-being. As the wealthy person in this family is Nigeria, which is the largest economy in Africa, according to data from World Bank. Dear passenger, we have driven to the point of certainty and wisdom that Nigeria can drive the overall rise of Africa as a continent. And I have only 3 parting words for Nigeria. You're a good boy. You're a very good boy. And you're a very, very good boy, Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Interesting submissions from the proposition, Lagos State University. We will now hear from the second speaker from the opposition, Adeyemi Taiwo. Adeyemi Taiwo, you have the floor and you have 3 minutes. Over to you.
Am I audible, please?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you, Taiwo. You have the floor. Your time starts already.
We cannot talk about the present and future without a touch of the past. Permit me to take you down the memory lane. In the decades after independence, Nigeria experienced rapid economic growth fueled by oil exports. But this growth was not evenly distributed, leading to regional inequalities and unrest. In the late 1970s, an oil crisis and poor economic policies led to a severe economic downturn. This was followed by a period of military rule marked by corruption and repression. In the 1990s, the country began a transition to democracy, but the economic remained fragile. In the 2000s, there was another period of growth, but it was again followed by a downturn due to falling oil prices. My partner has done a great justice to this debate topic today by opposing it, and I'll be following in that line argument, basing my argument on 3 points. First, varying economic systems. The unstable nature of Nigeria's economy makes it difficult to use as a yardstick for Africa. Nigeria's economic growth is inextricably linked to its political and economic systems. The country's dependence on oil has made its economy vulnerable to fluctuations in the global oil market. In recent years, the government has made efforts to diversify the economy and reduce dependence on oil, but progress has been slow. The World Bank annual report on doing business in Africa provides a wealth of data on Nigeria's economy. The internet report highlights the country's poor ranking in terms of ease of doing businesses, ranking 131 out of 190 countries. While some African countries may share similar characteristics, such as dependence on oil or other natural resources, each country is unique and faces its own set of challenges. Second, inadequate infrastructure. A lack of infrastructure is a significant obstacle to Nigeria's economic growth, and this challenge is shared by many African countries. According to the African Development Bank, only 33% of population in sub-Saharan Africa has access to electricity, and only 60% have access to internet. While my opponent may want to talk about the high digital rising technology, understand this point that was pointed out earlier as well. The African Development Bank has also estimated that infrastructure needs in Africa are growing at a rate of $93 billion per year, but only $45 billion is being invested. Poor infrastructure can lead to high transportation costs, as well as unreliable electricity and internet connectivity. These issues can make it difficult for businesses to operate efficiently and deter investment. Inadequate infrastructure can also lead to poor food insecurity, and crops cannot be transported to market. All these factors can hinder economic growth of countries across Africa. Third, poor educational system. Nigeria's educational system faces many challenges that could affect the country's economic growth. According to the United Nations Economic, Scientific, Cultural Organization, UNESCO, Nigeria has one of the lowest literacy rates in the world, with only 2% of the population being able to read and write. This lack of literacy skills makes it difficult
apologies, Adeyemi Taiwo, your internet stopped you off at 19 seconds. I believe that we'll work with the points that you have tendered before the 19 seconds mark. Thank you so much to the opposition, Obafemi Awolowo University. We've now heard arguments from both parties, first and second speakers from both parties. We'll be returning to Lagos State University for their cross-examinations. Just remember to ask clarifying questions and offer any rebuttals that you may have for your opponents. Naomi Kadiri, you have the floor now. Over to you.
I have a question from our opponent. She assumed that people literally eat once a day, and there is no source to back that up. When YLDP has taught us to provide credible sources to back up our facts. She said there's no economic growth, yet Nigeria provides 15% to Africa's GDP. According to Transparency Index, Nigeria is not even out of the top 10 corrupt countries in Africa. Nigeria is number 14 out of 54 countries. Nigeria is not in the top 10 corrupt countries. We have not gotten it right completely, but we have the potential to get it right. Nigeria is a very, very good boy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your cross, Lagos State University. Obafemi Awolowo University, do you have any questions for your opponents? I believe that your first speaker, Adebanjo Demilade, is going for the cross. Demilade, you have the floor now.
All right, so yeah, basically what we get from our proposition is they say that it's time for Nigeria to start playing the big brother role. But Nigeria has not even taken care of itself. We are still battling with high levels of unemployment within ourselves. And if we take on the big brother role, we would eventually fail and fall flat in front of the international community. And that is what we don't want as a country. This is what the proposition has to defend on their own side, on how this would not mar the image of Nigeria in the international community. Thank you.
Thank you to both teams. We have heard cross-examinations from Lagos State University on the proposition and Obafemi Awolowo University on the opposition. I'll now give the floor back to Lagos State University for their closing arguments. That is either Naomi or Adebola, since you are in the same space. Please, you have the floor now and you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria is not completely dead. However, Nigeria has the potential to give Africa an overall growth in its economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dangote refinery is a good example of one way Nigeria can give economic growth to Africa's economy. The Dangote refinery, according to Business Day News, the Dangote refinery is set to generate $21 billion and employ over 100,000 youths in Nigeria. Also, the recent removal of the petrol subsidy and the foreign exchange FX management reforms and foreign exchange reforms are critical steps to address long-standing macroeconomic imbalances and have the potential to establish a solid foundation for sustainable and inclusive growth. Nigeria, you are a very, very good boy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Team Lagos State University, for your closing arguments. Over to the team at Obafemi Awolowo University. Demilade, you have the floor and you have 1 minute. Thank you. Hello, Milade Adebanjo. Are you available to take the closing arguments for your team? All right. Adeyemi Taiwo, I see that you're poised to take the closing arguments. Please go ahead, Taiwo. Your time starts now. Hello, Taiwo. Can you give me a wave if you can hear or see me? University.
I'm having network glitches. If you could hear me, please let Demilade take it.
Demilade doesn't seem to be available to take the closing remarks. I have called on her, but she doesn't seem to be in a good place for that. So would you like to try one more time? If not, we have to allow you to pass over this round. Taiwo, do you want to try? We can see you and we can hear feedback from your end. Right.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Taiwo, I can hear you. All right. We see that the team from Obafemi University are having issues joining us right now. We would like to pass. We'd like to have them pass on this round. I mean, they have tendered their arguments so far from the first and second speakers, including their cross examinations. I believe those arguments have what it takes for the judges to make their final decision for the rounds. Judges, if that's okay with you, we'd like to call it a close for this round, and I'd like to get feedback. Just for time, for the sake of time, I would like to get feedback from. Yes, Chime. We cannot get any of the two of the speakers to, give their closing statements. Demilade doesn't seem to be where her camera is, and Adeyemi Taiwo is having a lot of network issues. So we have to proceed without a closing. Okay, but Taiwo seems to still be on the call, and I see that her video is working. So I also believe that her audio will be working. So we're going to give Taiwo another chance, one more time to go, and then we'll see what we can do after that. Adeyemi Taiwo, you have the floor once again.
All right, thank you, ma'am. In conclusion, Nigeria potential is promising, but it is not enough to drive the overall rise of Africa, despite economic growth. The country still faces significant corruption, inequality, and a lack of education and infrastructure. For Nigeria to truly rise, these issues must be addressed first. Better governance, economic opportunity, and education are key to unlocking the country's potential and helping it become a regional leader. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, team Obafemi University. Thank you so much also to the judges. I believe at this point we've now heard arguments from both parties, and for time's sake, I'd like to call on just one judge to give their feedback for this round, and the other judges can put their feedback in the live sheet, and we will also share this with the debaters. Mr. Chime, would you like to give some feedback to the debaters for this round before we go ahead? Thank you so much, Chime.
Yeah, okay. Good debate. To be honest, this was a little bit of a frustrating debate. I know I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I will. So we have two arguments. Nigeria is good and Nigeria is bad. That's essentially the tenor of both of the affirmative and negative speech. Affirmative says it's bad because it's good because of agriculture, A, B, C, D, E, etc. And then the negative says it's bad because of poverty and mismanagement and corruption. Very cool. The question I have as a judge is, how do I use Nigeria good or bad to make a decision about its ability to impact growth in Africa? So what do I mean by that? Everything needs to be framed in the context of Africa in all the speeches. Agriculture in the context of Africa, infrastructure in the context of Africa. The same thing for Nigeria being bad in the context of it impacting its ability to fuel growth in Africa. Not just it being bad because Nigeria has issues, but in the context of it fueling growth in the context of Africa. And in that sense, I'm kind of left struggling about what to do because a lot of the arguments aren't framed in the context of Africa. That's the first thing. And it's the kind of the major issue. The second thing I'll say is that for the first team, the A through E, I felt, this is me, I'm a debater. I was an All-American debater. I've debated for a year. To me, it sounded a bit gimmicky. I understand like why it was relevant. And I think if you're going to be gimmicky, you have to make really good arguments. And this is what I mean by that. The first thing, if Nigeria is a very good boy, is that an argument? What am I supposed to derive from Nigeria being a good boy, a very, very good boy? That's the point of like the A, B through E was a bit gimmicky, and the Nigeria is a very good boy. It's not an argument to me. It's a statement, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that statement. The same thing, and another reason why I thought it was a bit gimmicky is because it's not responsive to the other arguments. So you guys use A through C to make 3 arguments and use D and E to make 2 arguments in the next speech, but you never use any of your time to respond to the opponent's arguments in the first and negative constructive, right? So you can do D and E, but you should also be responsive to their 2 arguments, which is poverty is and underemployment is bad for the continent, mismanagement is bad for the continent. You shouldn't just regurgitate your plan, your script, which is why this is debate. A debate is about clash with both things. So if you're going to be gimmicky, that's cool. I don't mind it. If you're going to use the Barcelona impressions and the driving a bus, I don't mind it, but just make sure you respond to the opposing arguments. And then if you're going to do it, why end it and not use it in the final speeches, right? You've been talking about player, I'm a bus, and I thought that this whole bus analogy was going to come to an amazing impact conclusion in the final speech where I'm going to really crystallize it. It's not mentioned in the speech. The metaphor that's used in the speech is Nigeria's a very good boy. So my point is that this is debate. It's about ethos, it's about logos and things like that. If you're going to use kind of a shtick, it's fine, but that shtick should have argumentative merit and that be something that's carried and really crystallized in the final speech. My comments. Oh, last thing I'll say. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ime. Thank you for
going
depth. Yeah, and I'd like to sincerely apologize to the judges for my comment earlier. We're just working with time, but I do also understand that all the judges should have feedback for the debaters on this round. So sincere apologies once again, David and Ayomide. If it's okay with you, we'd like to get your feedback for this round, so for the benefit of all the debaters present. Ayomide, would you like to take the floor now? Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. Yeah, I'll be very quick about this. So, Naomi from LASU, very good debate, but I think you need to focus more on, you used excessive quotation. So it wasn't making the debate engaging at the point, and you're focusing so much on your notes. So I was expecting you to internalize the notes before coming for the debate. So that's one area I wanted to focus on going forward. Then, yeah, I also like the fact that you tried to infuse a sense of humor into your debate when you talked about a particular line. It's good, but you also have to ensure that it doesn't water down your point. Then Demilade from OAU, you started with your point with how can Nigeria help others when they are yet to help yourself? How can you save the world when you are yet to save yourself? And interesting line of debate. But I think the only thing I want you to focus on is time. Yeah, make sure that you're able to focus on the time you've been allotted. Then I think for Adebola from LASU, again, you focused on your notes. It's more like you were reading to us from your notes. So like I said earlier, you have to ensure you internalize the notes so that you come here and speak from your heart, not from a book. Let us see that you are really passionate about the topic, you have adequate knowledge about it, and we are not just coming to judge you, we are also coming to learn. So I think it's very important to know that when you go for any debate, you're not just going there to debate to win, you're also going to debate to share your knowledge. So I think it's very important. I think I will stop at that, and because of time, and allow the other judges to give their comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sayo. Over to you, David, for your feedback. Thank you.
Okay, apologies. I think I'm having some network issues here. So, straight to the point, let me give some specific feedbacks to the debaters. From the proposing side, I think you did very well. However, when you talked about the Dangote refineries generating 21 billion, 21 billion, is it in a day or in a month or in a year? You didn't specify that. So next time when you give us figures like that, try to give a complete information around it. Then generally, you guys were having problems with setups and asking some questions. Uh, thank God that the moderator was able to give you extra time. Otherwise, it could have eaten deep into your time. So I think that should be something you take note of. My other judges have also mentioned the fact that you were reading from the book. So try to, as much as possible, get your points off head, or somebody should even hold it behind the camera for you so that it will be like you are looking into the camera while you are reading, maybe from behind what they are holding for you. The second speaker from the proposing side, you did well, but the same thing, you were also reading from the paper. Then coming from to the opposing side, yes, you guys did well too, but one of you spoke on the data that one of every Nigerians, I think you could have been more specific, 70, out there 75, 71 million people currently in Nigeria live in poverty. So if you want to use your figure, maybe going by the 220 million population estimated, you can say, okay, maybe one out of every 4 person in Nigeria lives in poverty. According to the data from World Bank or National Bureau of Statistics, both of them have this information is there that maybe you may confirm. So next time you should try to give data or the sources of your information like that. Then the second speaker from the opposing side, I really like your energy and I like the fact that you were able to provide sources and you were able to back up your arguments. On my last point, please, this is a second round of debate, and I believe you guys were able to scale through the first round of the debate before getting to this point. One thing you should know is that your dressings matters a lot. Your dressings matters a lot. If you are coming for this kind of debate, as much as possible, try to look professional or very, very presentable. It may also impress the judges in a way. So that is all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the judges. Thank you, David. Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Chime. Thank you also to the debaters for your arguments here today. We're officially closing this round of the debates. And I hope, debaters, that you've taken the feedback from all the judges. And I'll ask you now to leave the live stream in order to allow the next round of debaters to join. We're now moving on to the fourth round and the final round for today. Thank you so much to our online audience who've been with us. And I want to say well done to the judges for the work that you're doing so far. Debaters, you can drop off now. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we shall be hearing the final arguments for today. The gig economy is redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape. Please stay tuned with us as we come back. Thank you.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest, was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
Goal we had set for ourselves this year is to hit a minimum of 6,000 volunteers.
We're trying to create a garden where the children buy food, where they eat.
We've planted 300 trees, and a part of these are going to be given out to the community.
I'm happy we've been able to sensitize some girls and boys on the need to fight against gender-based violence.
I want to say a big thank you to Leap Africa for organizing this.
We're giving back to the community, and we're also ensuring that we're keeping the environment for those that come after us.
All right, everyone, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us up until this time. We're in the final round for today on the Youth Leadership Debates Elimination Round 2. We have, for this round, debaters from the University of Lagos and the University of Abuja. The topic for this round is the gig economy is redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape. The gig economy is redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape. Speaking for the University of Lagos, we have Eniola Oni and Ememobong Ikwe. And for the University of Abuja, we have Othman Amina and Isaac Adebayo. The University of Lagos will be proposing this motion, while the University of Abuja is standing in the opposition. Debaters, please remember that you have 5 minutes for your first speaker and 3 minutes for your second speaker. You also have 30 seconds after your first and second speaker have spoken to offer cross-examinations where you can ask questions and rebuttals to your opponents. At the end of the cross-examinations, you have 1 minute to crystallize your points for the round. You'll be penalized if you spend more time than is allocated to you, and you will also be penalized for improper use of your language against your opponents and false evidence if proven to be false by your opponent and the judges. I wish you well in this round, and I hope that you've come with your best. And we're very glad to hear from you, and we're ready to hear all that you have to say today. With that being said, I'll now like to call on the first speaker from the University of Lagos. Eniola Oni, you have the floor and you have 5 minutes. The time starts once you see the timer. Please go ahead.
Esteemed judges, co-debaters, and my audience, good morning. I am Eniola Oni, and I am here to propose the motion that states that the gig economy is redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape. The gig economy is a free market system in which temporary positions are common and organizations or individuals hire independent workers for short-term commitments. We have popular gig platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, and bringing it further home, Bookings Africa, SideGig.co, and other gig avenues like Deliveries, Uber, and to mention a few. I propose my motion with the following premises. Number one, provision of a wider job market, better earning power, provision of extra source of income to the underemployed. The gig economy has provided a wider job market for Nigerians. Freelancing was already gaining ground as the preferred way of working for many, even before COVID-19. However, the pandemic heightened the adoption of this type of work, given that it transcended location-based gig work and public demand of delivery economic system increased. Following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the gig economy in Africa has expanded significantly. The Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics reported a decline in the unemployment rate from 23.1% in 2018 to 18.8% in 2020, attributed to the gig economy's influence. Since you can now work globally, you have more places to look for jobs apart from Nigeria alone. So Nigerians can now look beyond Nigeria to get jobs. Furthermore, thanks to the gig economy, many Nigerians, particularly the youths, are able to surmount geographical boundaries to earn more money from abroad while residing in their home countries. The Digital Economy and Development Research Center recorded that Nigeria's freelancers earned approximately $54 million in 2020. Ranging from techies to creatives, these skilled freelancers offer services that include but are not limited to programming, virtual assistance, accounting, data analysis, video production, content writing, and so on. Technology has driven the adoption of the gig economy on a global scale. It has created more seemingly flexible opportunities for people to earn income. To further buttress this motion, in a developing country like ours, gig jobs are not only regarded as a promising sort of work opportunities, but also as a means to augment salaries gotten from formal employment. Depending on the nature of their work, an individual could be a 9-to-5 job worker and still work as a freelancer on the side. For those that have less experience, the gig economy represents a training ground where they can try to build relevant experience, try out different roles, and network with other professionals in their area of interest. That means that an average classroom teacher of Primary 5 in an average Nigerian school, who is married with 2 children and only earns just about 30,000 naira in a month, can go back home after class, do some gig works, and get more money to increase their standard of living. The gig economy has done a lot in redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape, such that it has made life better for a whole lot more people, helped improve the living conditions of the underpaid, and also provided a source of income to the formerly unemployed. In light of the current digital transformation, this is a crucial time for the government to invest in the IT sector and talent economy. One effective way to do this is by training people with digital knowledge while upskilling those who want to transition into tech jobs. Another way the government can strengthen the gig economy is by expanding internet infrastructure to facilitate digital growth. The government can jumpstart the gig economy to become a mass employer of labor by providing requisite work elements, adequate power supply, cross-border payment integrations, and extensive internet connectivity or coverage are some vital resources needed for a viral gig economy in Nigeria. At present, the epileptic electricity supply and low internet penetration levels in Nigeria will serve as a stumbling block to gig economy practitioners. This is because these individuals are forced to source for their needs outside, and it costs more for their businesses. Even now, the rate of broadband penetration still drags at 39.98%, despite the government's desire to achieve a 90% penetration rate. If these factors are put into perspective, I am certain that the gig economy impact in bettering unemployment in Nigeria has only just reached the start, the sun being its final destination. And this is a call to us all, because the gig economy has served as more good than harm that we can ever imagine. And one thing I want us to also consider, even before I round off, is that after all has been said and done, the gig economy is here to stay. Young women are embracing financial independence by developing new skills and seizing work opportunities. The gig economy is empowering women who face barriers in traditional employment due to cultural norms or family commitment, and it offers a flexible way for these women to earn income while managing their household responsibilities.
So here you have it. The good way overweigh the bad. And the truth is that we should be thankful for the gift of the gig economy because it has come to provide to us what we originally were lacking in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Team University of Lagos, for your submissions. Interesting submissions there. I'd like to call on the first speaker from the University of Abuja. Osman Amina, you have the floor and you have 5 minutes.
The gig economy is not redefining Nigerians' unemployment landscape, although it is significant that in the recent years, it has provided employment opportunities for many Nigerians. It is also important to consider the challenges and limitations associated with this sector. My indefatigable Nigerians, good afternoon to you all. Sitting here before you this gorgeous afternoon is no one but the bearer, Osman Amina, and I'm here to speak against the topic. The gig economy is redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape. First and foremost, the gig economy in Nigeria primarily operates in sectors such as ride-hailing, delivery services, and personal services. These sectors employ a relatively small portion of working age population and predominantly cater to those in urban areas, leaving those in rural communities with limited access to gig work. Therefore, the impact of the gig economy on the overall unemployment rate in Nigeria remains limited, especially considering the significant proportion of the population residing in the rural areas. The gig economy work is often characterized by low wages and job insecurity. While it provides individuals with flexibility arrangements, it lacks the stability and benefit that is associated with that of the formal traditional employees. And this has continued to contribute to the chronic underemployment and financial instability in Nigeria. Gig economy jobs often lack the traditional benefits and protections provided to formal employment employees. Benefits such as healthcare, pensions, and insurance, leaving them financially vulnerable, which is called inadequate worker protection. Low wages is also one of the negative effects of gig economy in Nigeria because it tends to have low rates compared to traditional employment. This can contribute to income inequality and make it difficult for individuals to make a sustainable living. According to Fortunately.com statistic, on average, gig workers earn 58% less than what the formal employees are earning, and half of the world gig economy workers are under 28 years old. Gig economy workers suffer low pricing, low recommendation, isolation, and they lack workplace culture. It is also important to note that due to the inconsistencies in the gig economy, the constant change in employers affects the mental health of the individuals because the constant change in employers comes with different demands, conditions, regulations, and tax. Let's take a minute to highlight the recently introduced Twitter monetization in the whole world, although Twitter is currently known as X now, and it enabled the individuals that reached a certain limit to monetize their account due to the content that they are producing. But this has shown a high rate of lack of quality and value and personal value of their users, because the users will go around begging people to come and follow them so that they'll reach some certain limitations. The people are not following you, they are not seeing you, they are not engaging in your post because of the high sense of value that you contribute to the country. No, they are following you because they are begging them to do so. This is a degrade in personal value because the people are supposed to see you for who you are and what you bring to the table and what you contribute to the society. Gig works are unstable because they are temporary on demand, leaving the workers to face inconsistency and fluctuating income flows. And leaving them vulnerable for future employment opportunities. Gig economy jobs often require specific skills and qualifications, leaving those that don't have those skills out of the box. And this leads to limited skills development, skills mismatch because the gig economy exacerbates the skills mismatch in labor market, which certain gig jobs require specific skills and qualifications, while many do not, and it will lead to underutilization of skills and limited opportunities for career advancement for highly skilled individuals. In some cases, due to lack of regulations in the industry, gig workers are either exploited or face low wages, because as the company maximize their profit, the individuals may suffer from underpayment and lacking necessary protections that are affordable to traditional workers. The gig economy trend can make it harder for full-time employees to develop in their career pursuit, because the gig economy workers have made it easier, or they are cheap to hire, which is going to be cheap to hire, and they are always available. It is going to hinder the traditional employees to progress in their career pursuit, and it will hinder the level of development in the country, because for some workers, the flexibility of gig work can actually disrupt the work-life balance, sleep patterns, and activities of daily life. Flexibility often means in gig works that the individual must be ready to answer the call of the employers at any time, regardless of the attention that is needed in other important aspects of their lives. Thank you very much. Time is up.
Thank you so much, University of Abuja, for your submissions. I will now call on the second speaker from the University of Lagos, Ememobong Ikpe. Ememobong, you have the floor. You have 3 minutes.
Standing on all existing protocols, I stand to assert that we firmly believe that the gig economy holds the transformative power to redefining Nigeria's unemployment landscape. And I'll base my arguments on the following point. First, economic resilience and adaptability. The gig economy is inherently adaptable to market fluctuation, which is what we are conversant with in Nigeria. During economic downturns, traditional employment may face layoffs, while the gig economy can provide a buffer through its decentralized and diversified nature, ensuring individuals have alternative income sources. Secondly, dynamic and inclusive workforce. Embracing the gig economy allows Nigeria to harness the power of its youth demographic. Young Nigerians possess digital fluency necessary to thrive in gig economy, and by fostering their entrepreneurship, Nigeria can create a dynamic and inclusive workforce that adapts to changing global trends. The gig economy has enabled many young Nigerians to become self-employed entrepreneurs by leveraging their skills and assets through digital platforms. This can potentially reduce the pressure on traditional job market. Now let's talk statistics. PwC reported that the gig economy contributes over $1.2 billion to Nigeria's GDP annually, indicating a significant economic impact and potential to create employment opportunities. This shows a micro-entrepreneurship surge. Secondly, online job platforms. Online job platforms like Jobberman and Upwork have seen increased user engagement. Jobberman reported that it had over 5 million users in 2020, and Upwork noted that Nigeria was one of the top 5 countries with the most registered freelancers on its platform. Digital inclusion. Nigeria's mobile internet penetration of 42% indicates that gig platforms could reach a large portion of the population, thereby creating ample job opportunities. A report by the African Development Bank found that the gig economy has enabled young Nigerians to become self-employed entrepreneurs, with 31% of gig economy participants being self-employed. In conclusion, from the points laid out, it is evident that the gig economy represents an unparalleled opportunity for Nigeria to redefining its unemployment landscape, offering new avenues for employment and economic empowerment. By capitalizing on global success stories, leveraging digital connectivity, and fostering economic resilience, Nigeria can propel itself towards a future where job creation is dynamic, inclusive, and adaptable to the evolving needs of its citizens. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Team University of Lagos. I'd like to also remind the judges that this is a good time to start to impute the points for the debaters for this round and for the last round if you haven't done so yet. That being said, I'd like to call on the second speaker from the University of Abuja, who is speaking on the opposition, Isaac Adebayo. Isaac Adebayo, you have the floor. But I see that your device is not connected, so you might want to take a minute to just go out of the room and come back in so that you connect your device and you can give your arguments. We'll take a short break, and when we return, if we do not see Isaac Adebayo, we might have to go on to the next team.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest, was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
Judges, we still do not have Isaac Adebayo on the call. Well, we have him on the call, but it doesn't seem like the two devices he has joined with are properly connected to the stream. I see Othman Amina is still here. Amina, would you like to continue the presentation for your team in Isaac's absence? All right, I see you nodding. So Amina, you have the floor now. Just take a deep breath. I'm sure you can also give the second speaker's arguments properly. Over to you, Amina.
In advanced economies where unemployment insurance coverage is a norm, this is not available to gig workers. Someone would depend on gig work throughout their life will be looking forward to will not be looking forward to a retirement account, and it is difficult for them to build long-term relationship with their employers because due to the short tenure nature of gig works. The fundamental question to ask ourselves in this discussion is gig work sustainable? The gig economy has a sustainability problem because many of the gig workers tend to engage in gig work as a part-time or in-between jobs. Take an example of myself as a spoken word performance artist and as a writer, and me that offer my services to all these gig companies. Imagine I finish a short-term contract. I'll still have to be looking out for another contract that's going to come in for me to offer my services. It is not sustainable because how is it going to continue to sustain me? It's not going to continue to sustain me and my life expenses because I'll always have to be on the lookout. What if in a situation where there is no other gig work available for me because the only skill I bring to the table is to write, to do public speaking, and to write poetry and to do spoken words presentation? And imagine we now move to an area where all those things do not count. How am I going to continue to sustain my life? Another point to note is that according to statistics, most of these gig workers are young people. They are under 28 years or above 35 years, because most of these gig works out there, when they say they are looking for employees, it's either, okay, we're looking for people from the age of 15 years to 35 years or 18 years to 35 years. What will happen to me after I am over 35 years? Will my skill just go under the drain like that, or I'm not going to have any value to contribute to the country's economy? This is going to this will continue to orchestrate the income inequality in the country, because it is only working with a small proportion of people, which are mainly the youth. What will not happen to the overage people? What will not happen to those that are over 35 years old? How are they going to be sustaining their lives, and how are they going to be contributing to the economy of the country? Because as humans, we all have skills, we all have our own talents. How are we going to be leveraging these skills when we are over the age range of what the gig economy employers are asking for? So I don't think gig economy is not sustainable, because I'm a beneficiary of gig economy, and it has really been a toll in my head, because most time after I've finished working with this particular brand, I'll have to start researching the whole internet to see if there's another call for something that will match in my own skill, my own services that I can offer. Therefore, it's safe to say that gig economy is not sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Team University of Abuja. Team University of Abuja, I'd like to note that you also had a challenge with this in the last round, where your second speaker was unable to join the call. I hope this is not a pattern that will be repeated if you do make it out of this round successfully. However, I'll leave that feedback for the judges as well, on whether you proceed to the next round or not. At this point, we've heard arguments from the first and second speakers from both parties, and I would like to call on the University of Lagos team to offer any cross-examinations if they do have any questions and clarifications for the University of Abuja team. Over to you, Ememobong. You have the floor now.
All right, thank you very much. My opponent said that the key economy is not redefining the unemployment landscape in Nigeria. But I want to ask, can you deny that the gig economy offers unprecedented flexibility to those who otherwise might not have entered the workforce due to generational job constraints? And also, can you dispute the success stories of countries that have significantly reduced their unemployment rate through the gig economy? I don't think so, because you would agree with me that Nigeria's technological advancement makes it uniquely positioned to leverage the economy, just as other countries have done. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, University of Lagos. Amina Othman, do you have any cross-examination, any questions or clarifications for your opponent? You have the floor.
My opponent said that gig economy has been redefining the unemployment landscape in Nigeria to a very, very high level. What happened to those people that live in rural communities? Those people that do not have access to technologies like phone, maybe laptop, internet services and all that. Those people that live in villages, those that live in small towns, what happens to them? How are they going to live there? How are they going to earn something for themselves? How are they going to be sustaining their life and their expenses? Thank you.
All right, thank you for the clarifications from both teams. I'll now call on Eniola Oni from the University of Lagos to close this round for her team. Eniola, you have the floor and you have 1 minute. All right, I see that Eniola Oni is not on the stream right now. So, Enemobong, do you want to take the closing argument for your team? Hi, Eniola. I see that you're back. Are you available to take the closing argument? Please nod if you can. I can see you. Hello, Eniola, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, wonderful. We can hear you. Please go ahead now. You have 1 minute.
My opponent mentioned that the issue of gig working is not sustainable. But let me tell you, in 2019, over 2,000 workers of a popular bank in Nigeria were unlawfully laid off without warning and even had their severance pay slashed. This is just one out of the so many cases we hear daily. These workers were termed permanent staff, which means they were not gig workers. So can we really say that full-time employment too in Nigeria is sustainable? My opponent mentioned that the gig economy affects the mental health of gig workers, but according to Business Day Nigeria, 4 in 5 of employees in Nigeria are at risk of developing mental health issues. These ones are not also gig workers. The issues raised seems to be like a general employment problem to me, not a problem specific to the gig economy. So in this case, doesn't hold water. After all has been said and done, one final but important thing we should note is that the rise of digital labor platform has provided workers, including women and people with disabilities, the opportunity to generate income for themselves. The truth is that the gig economy is here to stay, and the earlier we all catch up with that reality, the better for us all. Thank you very much.
Interesting closing, University of Lagos. Thank you so much. Over to the University of Abuja for your closing statements. I do not see Isaac on the call, so I want to believe that Amina Othman will also be giving the closing statements for the University of Abuja. Please, over to you.
Okay, so yeah, gig economy is here to stay, and gig economy is sustainable or not. That's a discussion for another day. But in Nigeria, there is no law that regulates gig workers in Nigeria, along with the fact that they are not even recognized as employees. Nigeria, we don't even see them as employees. We only recognize those traditional workers as employees in Nigeria. The common principles of service contract are usually used to judge court cases, and gig workers find it so difficult to win court cases in Nigeria because they are not seen as employees. Workers in gig economy have to be constantly looking for next gig to be prepared for in their changes of current work. This is not a lifestyle that is sustainable at all. Most individuals value the feeling of secure and stability in their job. Workers in the gig economy may suffer unexpected changes in their economy and may suffer unexpected changes in their positions due to the changes in market organizations, such as getting laid off or having their compensation reduced. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. We have now heard arguments from both parties, like University of Lagos and the University of Abuja. We also note that the University of Abuja had practically just one speaker throughout this round, and I want the judges to take that into consideration in their feedback and in their ratings as well. We've now come to a good place to round up today's rounds, and I would like to now hear feedback from our judges. I see that our judge, Mr. David Omata, may have had technical issues following through with the conversation, but I would like to know if he did hear any part of the debates, and if he's got any feedback for the debaters. This would be a great time to share. So, David, please, are you on the call, and can you give any feedback for the teams? Thank you, David. Hello, David, you are still unmuted, muted rather. All right, David might still be experiencing technical issues. So I'd like to go over to Mr. Ayomide Alao. Sayo, you have the floor now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ijoma. Yeah, because of Isaac's absence, I know it's going to be very difficult to give an overview, so to say, of the performance of the two universities. But with Ottoman performance, I would just have to base my comments based on our own performance alone. So a few things that I have to say. Really interesting topic. Let me start with that. Really interesting topic, gig economy. It's something that even me personally, I've never really given a thought. So this kind of conversation is even making me look at the impact of gig economy, especially when it relates to youth employment and unemployment. So it's a really interesting topic, and the debaters, they did a very good job by trying to find out points to back up what they're supporting or against. So, few things I will have to say. The first one is that when you're trying to debate, it's very important you because I noticed that virtually all the topics we have today, there are things we discuss on a daily basis, and these are things that we don't need to quote statistics or refer to any source before we engage in those debates on a day-to-day basis. So when you're also coming to a debate, just be very free, focused much more on trying to push your own original ideas, not just quotation from other sources. I'm not saying you cannot make references or you cannot quote. You can, definitely you should. Academically you should, but you should also focus on your own personal ideas. Try to espouse them the way you would have done that if you're having a personal engagement with your friend, if it was not in a formal setting. So, because like I said, don't forget, when you go for a debate, the aim is not to win the argument alone. One of the major aims of going for debate is also to educate the listeners.
Hello, Mr. Ayomide. I don't know if you turned off your microphone by error. We can't hear you anymore. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. I think the help what I was using, the button I pressed.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
so I think it's very, very important you understand that when you're going for a debate, you're also going to educate even the judges and all those who are participating in the debate. It's very, very important. So don't just go for the aim of winning the debate, but try to educate us also. So I think those are the points I would like to make. Apart from that, very, very interesting debate, and kudos to the team, both from Unilag and Uni Abuja. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your feedback, Sayo. I'd like to now hear from Mr. Chime. Mr. Chime, do you have any feedback for the debaters before we call it a day today? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting conversation. At first, I was wondering how the negative was going to attack this. So, a couple of things. First, I just want to give a shout out to the negative for doing this debate essentially by themselves. To me, there's no issue, there's no penalty or anything like that. I've been in debates where my partner was supposed to show up, they were sick, or they don't show up. They literally didn't give me an excuse. They didn't show up, and I had to show up. Maverick is what we called it when I was debating, and I debated Maverick. And sometimes that's just what happens. And you're obviously at a disadvantage because you don't have the time to think and prepare. But I feel like you handled yourself well here, and good job for that. What is the key defining words in this topic? Two. One is redefining, and two is Nigeria. The question here is gig economy redefining Nigeria? And I would venture that the word redefining wasn't really mentioned after the first set of speeches. So as a judge, why should I consider gig economy redefining? Is it because it increases jobs? If so, what is the bright line for the job increase to qualify as redefining? Is it substantial? Is it over 50%? Is it over 10%, etc.? Is it a question of geography redefining in terms of rural and urban area? I don't know. Is it a question of the money invested? And the money invested, if is it 1 billion, 1 million, is it proportional that qualifies as redefining? I don't know. Is it mental health issues and benefits? I don't know. Debaters, you have to make the decision for me. Don't make me as a judge define what redefining is myself. You tell me what qualifies as redefining, and then help me weigh that, how you have set that impact calculus against the arguments that I've made. So at the end of the debate, I'm left wondering, is it mental health? Is it unemployment? Is it funds, et cetera, like that? It's not clear to me. So I have to be interventionist as a judge, and I have to basically define it myself, what I think qualifies as redefining. Now, a couple of things. There's a couple of arguments that are made that are interesting. There's this rural versus urban. There's this mental health issue. There's this benefit issues, some of which are not talked about by the other team. But on the other side, there's issues of funding, right? And there's this quote that I thought was interesting, which is PwC, the second negative speaker, the second affirmative speaker says that PwC says that $1.2 billion have been added based on the gig economy of first the Nigerian economy. And I was like, 1.2 billion, that's a lot of money. So I looked it up. And what I found was, based in 2022, Nigeria's economy is 504 billion. And based on purchasing power, it's over 1 trillion. What does that mean? That means that 1 billion is a drop in the bucket. And it took me 2 seconds on Google to look it up, and my point I'm making is that you guys need to really look at these arguments and weigh them as a relation and as a proportion. 1.2 billion may sound a lot, but but it's not even 0.01% of redefining the economy, right? Because Nigeria's economy is over 500 billion. So it's hard to weigh some of these things. And then for the affirmative, I think that you just need to answer some of these arguments I'm saying about rural or urban distinction, that it lacks benefits and things like that. And if it doesn't matter to you, I think you need to just be we employ more people, and that outweighs all this other stuff about geography and things like that. Same thing for the negative. I think that, Madame, you made some of these arguments. You need to make sure you carry them on to the end of your speech. All right. At the end of the speech, the negative, you really, your last words to me is that was about the law and the fact that these are not employees. A lot of this rural arguments or mental health issues, they're not extended in the final speeches. So I think that that's something you could do. Last thing I'll say, the affirmative, you spent 2 minutes in the first speech out of 5 minutes talking to me, talking to the judges about why digital transformation would be important. You say the government can invest in digital IT. It can invest in cross-border things. It can invest in more electricity. Interesting 2 minutes of conversation. I was thinking that you were setting this up for a response to an argument when they say that, rural people don't have tech or something like that. You would extend these arguments and say, no, we've already said these are things that can be invested in. There's this 2 minutes of speech, 2.5 minutes of your first speech. None of it is carried out in the end of the debates. Nothing about digital transformation or electricity upgrades. So what's the point of it in the first speech? You just wasted, in my mind, 2.5 minutes of your speech if you're not going to use it to respond to arguments that the negative is making in the future. So I think that it would benefit from a bit of time allocation, or at least framing why that's important for me to consider in responding to things going forward in the future. Final thing I'll say is that first negative speaker, you talked about Twitter and X and monetization. I don't understand that argument. What is the point of making this argument here about the Twitter, X, and monetization? You said as it shows a lack of quality and users following. I didn't think that it was compelling. I thought it was, I think you should have just, I thought it actually benefited the affirmative to say, because if we say that Twitter users are now getting monetizing and those are gig workers, that's money they didn't get before. So I think it supports the affirmative claim, not a negative claim. So I don't think it's an argument you should have made. My comments.
Thank you. Interesting feedback, Mr. Chime, and thank you so much to Mr. Ayomide. We're with you, David, on the technical issues that you've had. But thank you so much for the feedback so far. We've come to the end of the debates for today, and I want to say thank you, a big thank you to the judges, the debaters, those who have given us opinion. Thank you to those who have joined us online, as well as our judges and our debaters. We'll be taking a break, and when we return, we will be announcing the winners for today's rounds. I'd like to say to our viewers once again, we have Mr. Chime Asonye, Mr. Ayomide Alao, and Mr. David Omata, who have given their verdict for the rounds that we've had so far. So we'll see what their inputs are like when we return from this break. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debates goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest, was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
Goal we had set for ourselves this year is to eat a minimum of 6,000 volunteers.
We're trying to create a garden where the children buy food, where they eat.
We've planted 300 trees, and a part of these are going to be given out to the community.
I'm happy we've been able to sensitize some girls and boys on the need to fight against gender-based violence.
I want to say a big thank you to Leap Africa for organizing this.
We're giving back to the community, and we're also ensuring that we're keeping the environment for those that come after us.
It's the Youth Day of Service, and it's really in commemoration of the International Youth Day.
The Youth Day of Service is leadership in action. We're all about inspiring, equipping, and empowering a new cadre of African leaders that will transform themselves personally, the community, and the entire Africa.
This is important because we're trying to also just promote and encourage volunteering. Everyone has come out today. Some of our partners have come out today to volunteer and support.
Our partnership with the Leap Africa on the Youth Day of Service is key to creating social impact in the lives of communities, in the lives of youth members, in the lives of everyone around us.
Young people are vibrant, young people are creative, young people are innovative. And so you can't even begin to imagine the kinds of projects that we have seen so far.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debate goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest, was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
There's a huge innovation gap on the continent. You have young people who are talented and largely driven by passion, who go into starting enterprises without the requisite skills, knowledge, resources, relationships to be able to take them sustainably.
We couldn't sustain the programs we did. We lacked financial capacity.
It was just at the point where I was almost going to stop the idea.
The SIP Social Innovators Program was designed so that we can bridge that gap. We can fill that gap of capacity.
Indirectly, when they invested in me as a young person, they've invested in the over 11,000 plus women that we've been able to empower.
We're able to provide relief materials to over 3,000 inmates.
For just the last 3 years, after being a LEAP fellow, we are able to achieve that goal to the highest level I can think about.
Are you tired of feeling like you're not making a difference in your community? Do you want to take action and create a better future for yourself and others? The Leap Africa's advocacy and moral courage courses can help you do just that. Our free advocacy course will guide you on how to participate in critical issues and how you can make a difference, while the e-integrity course on moral courage will equip you with the tools to address corrupt practices within your community. Use coupon code LEAP@20 to access e-integrity at a 30% discount. With our courses, you'll gain the skills and knowledge you need to be a force for positive change. Sign up at learn.leapafrica.org and start your journey towards making a difference today.
There's a huge innovation gap on the continent. You have young people who are talented and largely driven by passion, who go into starting enterprises without the requisite skills, knowledge, resources, relationships to be able to take them sustainably.
We couldn't sustain the programs we did. We lacked financial capacity.
It was just at the point where I was almost going to stop the idea.
The SIP Social Innovators Program was designed so that we can bridge that gap. We can fill that gap of capacity.
Indirectly, when they invested in me as a young person, they've invested in the over 11,000 plus women that we've been able to empower.
We're able to provide relief materials to over 3,000 inmates.
For just the last 3 years, after being a LEAP fellow, we are able to achieve that goal to the highest level I can think about.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence to the voice of young people and leveraging on it as an effective tool to cause a transformed Nigeria. Its goal is to provide capacity building to young people across tertiary institutions and support them to critically evaluate information, advocate from the point of knowledge, and to collectively shape their future of Nigeria. The conversations led on the platform of the Youth Leadership Debates goes on to equip the contestants with needed knowledge to be active citizens leading a change. The NSAS protest of 2020 showed that young people can speak with one voice and cause a change. The Sorosoke movement, which means to speak up in Yoruba language, a ripple effect of young Nigerians' resistance to police brutality through the NSAS protest, was an eye-opener for government, the youth, and development agencies. Now, while it is important to encourage young people to Sorosoke, they must be guided to do it the right way. More so, institutions of higher learning have a leading role in providing solutions to the myriad of challenges facing society, cutting-edge research and innovative activities. Universities are places where young people are equipped to engage in intellectual debates that have national relevance and to provide solutions to socio-economic issues. So, Leap Africa, through the Youth Leadership Development Programs, build the capacity of young Nigerians in leadership and active participation in the nation's affairs, helping to shape the country's future for long-term development.
All right. Welcome back, guys. Welcome. All right, you're welcome back, viewers, to the Youth Leadership Debates Competition 2.0. We are now here to announce the results from the 4 rounds that have been held today. I know that you must be repping one school or the other, one team or the other. So I know that we are all poised to hear the final results from our judges. Our judges have done a very great job of not only imputing scores for each of the teams from the rounds that have gone out today, they have also given their feedback and their observations on how the teams can do better if they do make it out of this round successfully. So thank you so much to our judges. I'd like to now go without further ado to announce the results as they have come. For the first round, we had the Veritas University. We had 2 teams from Veritas University, Group 1 and Group 2, where we had Priska Iwendi and Abba Divine Enekole representing the Group 1 from Veritas University, and we had Grace Oguru and Hart Joanne Eniga for Group 2 of Veritas University. It was a very competitive round where they debated on alternative financing for higher education as a solution to governance problems confronting the university system in Nigeria. For this round, the Veritas University Group 2 made it out of the rounds with 10.77 points, while Group 1, headed by Abba Divine and Nekole, made it out of this round with cumulative points of 11.07. That is to say that the Group 1 of Veritas University has made it out of the round successfully, and we'll be seeing them at the quarterfinals. Congratulations to Group 1, Veritas University, Priska Ewendi and Abba Divine Nekole. Congratulations. We are very proud of you. For the round 2, we had representatives of the University of Ibadan make up the 2 teams from this round. We had University of Ibadan Group 3 and University of Ibadan Group 1. They debated on the topic, in enhancing economic growth, funding is more critical to entrepreneurial success than creativity. The Group 3 spoke on the opposition, while Group 1 spoke on the proposition of that argument. And we see Group 3 of the University of Ibadan make it out of that round with 12.70 points, while the University of Ibadan Group 1 made it out of that round with 11.50 points. That is to say that the University of Ibadan Group 3 has now qualified for the next stage of the debates. Congratulations to Yusuf Aisha and Abdul Habib Akorede. Congratulations, we are super proud of you, and we hope to see you in the next rounds. For round 3, we had representatives from the Lagos State University and Obafemi Awolowo University, where they debated the topic, is Nigeria's economic growth and potential significant enough to drive the overall rise of Africa as a continent? We saw Naomi Kadiri and Adebola Alamin represent the Lagos State University, and we saw Demilade and Adeyemi Taiwo represent Obafemi Awolowo University. The Lagos State University team made it out of this round with 10.13 points, while the Obafemi Awolowo University made it out of this round with a cumulative of 11.73 points. That means that Obafemi Awolowo University has now made it out of this round to the very next quarterfinal. Congratulations to Obafemi Awolowo University, Demilade and Adeyemi Taiwo. We are very proud of you, and we hope to see you in the next rounds. Finally, we had for round 4, the University of Abuja and University of Lagos. For this round, we had a few technical issues. First of all, one of our judges was unable to impute his points and his feedback for this round because he was unavailable. Rather, he had technical issues, he had a network issue, so he didn't hear all of the arguments. And to be fair on both parties, he didn't just put in any points at all. Second thing that we had for this round was that we had only one debater from the University of Abuja. While that is fine, we just want to hear a very balanced argument, and one of our rules was to see 2 teammates debate for each round. So for these reasons, we will suspend announcement for this rounds, and we will have a supplementary round for these 2 parties where they will be debating, and then we'll be able to know exactly who came out with the top scores. So University of Abuja and the University of Lagos, you will hear from us, but for now, announcements for this rounds have been suspended, and you'll hear from us in a bit. Thank you so much to our judges once again. Thank you to the debaters. Thank you to our online audience who have been with us from 9 a.m. up until 10 a.m. up until this time. We're happy to have you, and we're still debating for the Nigeria that we want. I want to say to the debaters to take into consideration all the feedback and observations that have been shared by the judges. Please take them into consideration as you move to the next round of these debates. The judges have made very, very, very important comments, and I hope that you have taken them all into consideration, and we'll see you make even better improvements at the quarterfinals. For now, it's thank you and goodbye from Leap Africa. See you next time. Thank you. See you. We'll come back tomorrow for 4 rounds to make up for the elimination rounds too. Thank you so much, and see you later.
The Youth Leadership Debate is a program that provides the platform for young people to use their voices and knowledge to drive conversations for national development. It is an initiative of the Nigeria Youth Futures Fund, NYFF, implemented by Leap Africa in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation and the Ford Foundation. The 2022 Youth Leadership Debates also aims to give confidence
as a people with one song, with one voice.